Okay, we go.
Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Hump Day edition of the JP Peterson Show. I'm trying to figure out what day it is. Yes, Hump Day. Yeah, we got lots to get to. We got a star-studded cast today. Not only is IndyCar Tim with us.
Look, can you just not say stars right now, okay? Can you just use a different word?
Is that a little tender?
Not really, no.
Ass whooping. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of losers on this show today. Well, we're talking about the team. Rays lost. Dallas lost. Of course, the Lightning lost.
Mm-hmm.
Rays lost. Did I mention the Rays lost? And the Bucs lost, too. The Bucs lost.
Oh, JP, breaking news. Edmonton just scored again.
It doesn't matter. As you'll find out at the end of the show when Dave Mishkin joins us, the Panthers are going to win it all.
Yeah,
the Panthers are going to win it all. So doesn't it take a little sting off that your stars it doesn't really matter. You can lose this week or you can lose in 2 weeks. Take your pick.
Doesn't matter.
Take your pick. Anyway, we got a great show for you today. Evan Closkey from Tampa Bay 10 is going to join us, fast becoming the I would say on TV. He may even be the longest tenured sportscaster now that Dan Lucas is moved on.
Oh, all
so
right.
yes, he's the elder statesman. I don't think he's going to like that when I tell him that. But he will join us at about 10:05. He'll jump in here early on. Then we got Scott Reynolds at 10:30. Both of these gentlemen were out at Bucs OTAs yesterday, so we'll have lots of Bucs content for you today. Tons. Johnny Gerber is going to join us, fresh off getting a ham sandwich, 48-1 winner this past week. I hope you bet it. I was busy and forgot to put my bets in and did not, and I lost like an idiot. So he'll join us and have some more great money-making opportunities.
By the way, he is inside the ropes at the Memorial this week. So
inside the ropes. Wow.
I like that broadcast term.
Yeah. That's like name dropping right there.
It is.
Oops. So good. He'll definitely have us some winners this week. If there's a course that he knows, it's this one. So away we go. And then the great Dave Mishkin's going to join us. And as we creep closer to, actually, we're a week away from the Sports Club of Tampa Bay Hall of Fame inductions, which yours truly will so honorably discharge as MC. We're going to have as many guys on as we possibly can. And Dave Mishkin will join us as he goes into the Tampa Sports Hall of Fame. So we chatted with him about his career coming up through the minors, some fun stories there, and of course what's going on with the Lightning right now. So that will be in our second half. That's a big show. That's a big show for you people.
Really big show.
None of you deserve it except maybe John Hill and Kenneth McCleary and Nathan Elliott, the people that are already on. But the rest of you, nah.
What about Daniel? Daniel had a good show for us yesterday.
Oh, yes, he did. Two shows.
Yeah, he got a good couple of shows.
No, we love you guys. We love you guys. You were all overshadowed by Brennan last night. Are we going to play his rap song today?
I mean,
we may not have time.
I have it.
You still have to delete some of the chosen words.
I didn't beep any of it out. It's just the audio. I didn't beep any of it out. So, I mean.
All right. Maybe we don't have a lot of time today, so we'll table that. If you missed it, we'll bring it back. It was epic. Okay. Well, I don't know, but I don't know what was better, to be honest with you. And you can tell me. Was it his great rap, or was it me doing laying down the beat?
Shot 90.
It was you.
Don't play it. Don't play it.
I wasn't going to play the in part. No, that's all right.
Don't play it. Not just yet. But
I probably need to do some editing on it, don't I?
We'll have to set that up properly. Absolutely. You never know what you're going to get, right? On a JP Peterson show.
That's why I hate phone calls and I hate live streams, live broadcasts.
He stepped up to the mic, though. I'll tell you that. And he got the free tickets, front row tickets we gave away last night at Riveters.
Do you think he remembers any of this morning?
Yes, I hope he does, because he accepted his tickets and he's going to be front row today for Rays and Twins.
He's going to wake up next to those tickets and go, where did these come from?
Well, they're in his phone, you knucklehead. All right.
really?
Without further ado, let's bring in some seriousness and some class to this organization here. The great Evan Closkey from Tampa Bay's 10 joining us here. I think I just called you the elder statesman of local TV.
Absolutely.
Now that Lucas has moved on to greener pastures, you're the old man.
I'm telling you, I'm up there. I came in 2021. All of a sudden, I'm looking around.
I guess Scott's still over at Fox 13.
Scott is still leading the pack. But after Scott, I think it is me.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm photographer Bob at FLA.
Oh well, Bob. Yeah, Bob was there before me.
He's an institution there. But we even lost Tukes there at Fox, so it's dwindling.
O'Donnell, Tukes, everybody.
Yeah, KOD.
Yeah, they're all traveling now, and your ass is working for another 30 years.
Yeah, I'm just looking a glimpse into my future. Got it.
How do you like that? But
man.
the journey's going to be outstanding, bro. So
yeah.
You're just getting started.
I just need a few more boat parades.
Yes, yeah, I think that's a possibility. I don't know.
Hey, Evan, before we get into Bucs, I got a quick question for you that maybe you can answer for me. I woke up this morning and curiously, I was trying to remember who won the college football national championship.
Oh,
it slipped my mind.
It's super funny because I had that happen to me last weekend. And same problem, but I did come to it's Ohio State.
Yep. It was Ohio State.
Yeah,
I knew they played.
No, it's funny. It's funny because that happens to me like so often too. It's just I'm young, but I'm also old. So
oh my God,
I knew for sure that it wasn't my Aggies. That's all I can remember.
Correct.
Sure, right?
Yeah, it was not Michigan. So let's just let's
not
make that very
up
clear.
north. It wasn't Notre Dame, although they had a better chance. But.
I was going to say who'd they beat, and I was like, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Notre Dame. Very anticlimactic game, as we might remember. By the way, you know what? That's a good little segue. How about 16 teams in the college football playoff? We just went. We zoomed right past 12 and went right to 16.
Man, it's such a mess right now in college football. I mean, I understand what the SEC and the Big Ten are trying to do, but
take over the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like in my opinion, we didn't need another NFL, right? Like, and that's kind of what we're trending towards. And there are a lot of teams right there in the ACC and the Big 12. Florida State will be taken care of. Miami will be taken care of. But there are a lot of other teams in these little towns who depend on their colleges and certainly their college football who are going to be left fighting for that one Group of 5 spot who can't hang financially with all the big dogs. And
it's a mess.
It's not what college football was supposed to be. And even though it was always a farce that certain schools had a chance, and it was always very obvious that certain schools were paying their players anyway, and so on and so forth. The dream was still exactly
the illusion was still there,
the kayfabe was still there. So it is what it is. We're gonna love the playoffs. Playoffs are our country loves playoffs. We love having a chance to win a title. So that won't hurt the sport. It's just all this mess and how we're kind of throwing a bunch of programs and towns under the bus. I don't love it.
Crazy affiliations across the country. Stanford
and
Allen.
it's
what's interesting.
West.
Yeah, what's interesting is. So Trump goes to Alabama and has a conversation with Saban, and basically, hey, should we create a commission for college football and college sports to fix everything? And at that point, I'm guessing Saban agreed because they came out. Oh, Saban's going to have this commission. Saban's going to be part of it. We got the Texas Tech guy. I forget the big donor guy, and they're going to co-chair it. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And then Greg Sankey and the Big Ten went, no, we don't want to do that. Hey, Nick, let's reverse course on that. You want to give power to all these other conferences? Abort. Screw that. We're the Big Ten and the SEC. We're going to dominate this thing. We don't need no freaking commission. So the next week, Saban's like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell happened there?
I don't know. They definitely need some guidance. I think Nick Saban would have been a tremendous voice in the room. he's also a big dog too. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing is you kind of need someone that wants to try to keep the illusion of all those other teams and try to
Hmm.
figure out ways where you can financially make sure that the conferences, the big conferences like the SEC and the Big Ten are taken care of, while also making sure that you can continue to raise the profile and keep the interest of a lot of other programs out there. And I get it that the big programs are really the money drivers and the ones you're
Hmm.
trying to appeal to, but I just don't know as a product if it's a good idea to really disenfranchise a lot of these used to be Power Five teams, used to be, had their heyday 15 years ago where they had that season where they were able to,
Yeah.
be a top 10 team. When you lose that dream, there's going to be a loss of interest in the
Yeah.
sport.
I agree.
And college athletics, more than professionals, are way more emotional than people I think are putting forth. So like, someone at Washington State isn't just all of a sudden going to root for USC. They're just not
Right.
going to watch college football.
Absolutely right.
And so I don't know. I don't love the direction of where college football is going. As an Ohio State grad, I don't have to worry about it, but I do think about a lot of others, and I don't think this is the way that it should
Well,
be
if
doing
if
business.
you're a USF fan, you know, you're on the brink.
Yeah.
They're all set up. It looks like they're going to get a conference affiliation in this next round, but that might be shut down by what's going on right now by the Big Ten and the SEC. If they get everything that they want, which is basically what's going on, then maybe they will expand. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just say, you know what? We don't want to share this money with anybody else. We don't want to be, who's going to bring more to our bottom line? And then we got to give you a full share of this money. The numbers don't make sense in that case for USF. It just, but a long term, yes, but it's a scary position right now where I think if there was a commission and they tried to level the playing field throughout all of college football, not just the SEC and Big Ten, that would be advantageous. I think, to your point, it would keep these smaller schools involved, which is what you need for the popularity of the sport. If you want it just to become another NFL where there's 30 teams and 30 markets that only matter, 32, then, okay, but that's not good. That's not good for
I
cuts.
just
That's
don't,
not good for the
and
health of the game.
there's nothing like the NFL, and I don't think you want to compete on that level.
No, you don't.
I always think about this overseas, right? The Premier League, everyone tried to make the Super League out of European soccer,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone just revolted and told them
Right. That's
hell
a great
no.
point. That's a
and
great point.
and they said we do not want that, and kind of here we just accept it. We're like, oh, like, big business and all this stuff, and like it's just a way of life. And there was like that whole tangent from Pat, whatever, however you pronounce his name, and he was just like, what were you expecting? Like, that's just our attitude.
Yeah,
It's like it doesn't
exactly.
have to be that way.
Yeah.
Like,
I
like,
totally agree.
and
But we're
those
just
and those
accepting
fans,
it now.
exactly, and those fans fought for the lower level teams, even though they were rooting for Arsenal, and even though they were rooting for Liverpool and all these teams that we're going to be taken care of. So, I just think we need a little bit more of that in college football. We need to remember what college football was kind of founded upon, and
Yes,
what the
absolutely.
beauty and essence of it is. And when you become the NFL, you are just going to become a lesser version of the NFL. And these kids are 18 to 22-year-old kids. They shouldn't be operating the way that they're operating.
Yep.
And I think the adults in the room have completely, we always blame the kids, and we always say,
No,
oh,
this
the
is
kids,
all on the adults, the
the
greedy
adults in the
adults.
room
Yep.
have completely screwed this up and have mismanaged it, and greed is at the forefront of it.
Yep, unfortunately. Evan Closkey joining us here. All right, you were out at OTAs yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I saw you on our CBS Sports Highlights HQ going national,
Mm-hmm.
baby.
Nice.
Hassan Reddick. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it right now, but
Mm-hmm.
in a world where the Buccaneers are the best chemistry team in all of football, there is a rift, and this is it. And this is it. You signed the guy. He held out last year. I get it. It's voluntary. This is a bad look. This is a bad look. The Bucs went out and said, okay, come prove it. We'll give you a ground. It's a great spot for you. You can make a lot of money. Hey, we'll even pay you if you have a great season, right? And then to not show up for OTAs, I don't know. I don't want to make a huge deal out of it, but it ain't good. It ain't a good thing.
Yeah, I am curious, and thinking back, probably worth a follow up when myself was being in the room. So I hold myself accountable here. Probably should have, he said he expects him to be here one of the days of OTAs. My bigger question is, has Hassan Reddick been here, right? Like,
Yeah.
we know
Right.
Mike Evans has been here, Levante David has been here, Wirfs, Gedeke, they've been here. They weren't on the practice field, but they've been here. So that's where I really care more about it. If he's popping in, working out with the team, coming in for
Right.
a week,
Agree.
and he's not out there on the field, whatever, right? Like it's,
I think if he was doing that, Bowles would have told us when he was
yeah,
asked about it.
I would have at least seen, I've looked through the key out there, by the way, everybody, is you go to Buccaneers website, you look at their photos, they post a bunch of photos after
Yeah.
those practices that are all closed, and you
for the
try to
numbers.
see who is out there. Because there are sometimes it's like, oh, he showed up that day, like, oh, that's nice. So you can start kind of like getting this memory bank of like, oh, even though I know I'm not going to see Mike until the mandatory minicamp stuff, I know, and they posted these pictures, but sometimes
Yeah.
they don't. But it's like sometimes, it's like, oh, I know that Mike has been there. So it's
Yeah.
like in my head, I know it's like I'm not gonna say that this
We
person
haven't
hasn't
seen
been
him,
around.
but we
Exactly.
haven't seen him.
I haven't seen stuff with Hassan Reddick. So yes, I definitely do agree that especially coming off of last year, how everything went with the Jets, waiting until as long as he did to come, that there is a little bit of it's a little uncomfy of a feeling, especially for
Mhm.
someone who's quote unquote pissed off, like Jason
Right.
White
Right.
told us. Having said that, Josh Grizard didn't even do a call it period yesterday. We are talking foundational level stuff
Yeah.
on this day one.
Yeah.
So I also don't want to take it to a level where I'm overly concerned either. So right now I'm on high alert. That's kind of where I'm putting it.
Yeah.
I don't love it. I'm not here to make a big deal out of it
It's
yet.
not a
I
thing
th-
yet.
I think that maybe I'm hoping maybe next week when maybe they start to get into some call it periods that he'll be there, and that will lead into mandatory stuff, and then he can go for the rest of the offseason and enjoy his time, be ready for training camp. So I think for him personally, it would really help if he would just show up next week. Hey, get some cameras on me. I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm doing the stuff. And not, because right now it's surface level stuff. Nobody nationally, there was like a story or two out there. It's in the public sphere. But if he doesn't come again, it's going to be up. He still hasn't showed up, and
Yeah.
it's going to. And then now we're trending towards distractionary territory.
Right.
So that's kind of where I am. I'm lifted out of my chair,
Yeah.
but I'm not moving yet.
And
Look,
a lot of people.
we
Go
weren't involved in the we weren't in the room when the contract was agreed on and signed and all of that with Reddick. But I can imagine the one thing that was stressed to him was whatever you do coming off of last year, the fiasco with the Jets, just don't be a distraction. Just please play nice and let's just all get along, and you can get your sacks and we'll pay you a bunch of money and we'll go from there. Again, we're kind of speculating here because it's very, very early and we don't know why he's not there, but it just seems like it's a bad look to begin with.
Yeah, and in the end, it is voluntary, and he's a veteran who's been there and done that. So, with a lot of those players, typically, if you've signed a second contract, you really don't have to be out there. Like, what I've noticed in my time here is the people who are out there for the voluntary OTA stuff are those on their first contract. It's nice when we see Antoine Winfield Jr. It's nice when we see Jamel Dean, somebody who's fighting for his job this year
Yeah.
in a contract year himself. But for the most part, those second contract players who aren't dealing with an injury as far as those first contract players, those are the ones that aren't out there. So he's in that ilk. So
But-
that's just sort of how
Right.
I usually view it.
But I would argue against that he's with a brand new team and he needs to get as much familiarity and reps with those players and coaches and everything. I know they don't do a lot here in OTAs, but still, as a new addition, I would think you would want to be there at any given opportunity just to for the look for your teammates, to get to know everybody and the coaches.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think that would be best, and it would certainly quell some of this discussion.
Yeah, and I'm a Reddick fan. I think he's going to work out just fine. I just hate that we're having to talk about it.
It feels like, oh, I didn't get a long-term deal, so I'm not showing up. That's what it feels like, but whatever. We'll give him an opportunity to answer the questions when he comes in, and hopefully he'll be in soon.
In December when he's leading the league in sacks, then this may not be an issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Oh, you missed that day in May. People look like
Yeah,
idiots.
exactly. In
But
the
hey,
end, come up, get
it's off
sacks. We're
season.
all
We got to have
happy.
something to talk about. So it's what you're the one who show up. So we wouldn't even be talking about it. So what else did you glean out there yesterday? I'll give you an open floor.
Yeah, ultimately, it just the number one thing the number one takeaway that I have from watching them, from listening, is that they're really able to finally, first off, as an offense, build upon a foundation which they haven't had in quite a while. And Graham Barton kind of put it best. He said the foundational stuff, that's all the same. But we can now get into sort of the nuances that Grizzard wants to do, and some of these tweaks and some of the things that a lot of other teams in the NFL aren't doing right now, where they have to completely start at the ground floor.
Right.
We're at least advanced to the point of where,
Phase
like,
two.
we all get it. Like, we
Yeah.
all know this, so now let's talk about how we're going to run this route or how we're going to do that. And you can really get into some more fundamentals, some stuff that
Yeah.
Liam was certainly not able to do at this time last year. Also, the defense, the cornerbacks and the safeties are now going to be meeting in the same room, which hopefully is going to help with communication, which is hopefully going to help with generating more interceptions.
Great
Servassier
idea.
Dennis picked off Baker Mayfield yesterday, which was really good to see, because Dennis, I think, if you're talking about the top three players who are going to help determine the success of this Buccaneers team, I think around like three might be Dennis, because that linebacker position is so thin
Yeah.
and there are still question marks. I love what Dennis can do. He's got amazing ball skills, something they need on the defensive side of the football.
Especially in the middle of the field.
But in the middle, and especially in his coverage abilities in the middle of the field, where they got tiki torch last year. But otherwise, I think that if he can stay healthy, him and Levante are a really good pairing. So I just need to know that he can stay healthy and he can withstand the grind of a 17 game season where he's the guy. But early returns on him and what he's able to do. I mean, going back to even his rookie camp days, he was the one picking off passes. He's always
Yeah.
done that stuff. He's just got to be on the field. We saw it in the Lions game. But
Great
I am not.
instincts.
Yeah, exactly. And
Great
I
instincts.
certainly I'm a big fan of his, but I also don't want to jump on the train that the linebacker position is taken care of because he's in tow next year. Because at this time last year, I thought KJ Britt, coming off the season he had, was going to be awesome, and
Yeah.
that totally backfired.
Yeah.
So I think that early returns have been great on him. Early returns have been great on Abuka, who I saw make a handful of catches out there. So there is some good stuff,
And David Walker. I
and
saw some
yeah,
tape of David Walker yesterday, and I saw him when I was out there but not up close. We couldn't really see on that first rookie minicamp. But I was watching the Bucs website, and they had some really up close stuff of him doing pass rushing drills. And look, it's just a drill. But again, he just moves differently. He moves differently. He is so quick and explosive and strong. When you watch him do those bag drills, you can just see it. Like, I used to watch Warren Sapp do that, and he'd go through those bag drills, and you go, "Holy shiz!" Like he was 2 steps quicker than everybody else, and his explosion and those poor bags, like you just felt the power. It was like, dude, what was that?
yeah.
And Walker, not to that level, but he shows you that, and you're like, wow, that's explosive. He's explosive.
Yeah, I really hope that he becomes a nice rotational piece in his rookie season, as someone you
Yeah,
can just say, "Hey, on a third down or something, get after the quarterback.
yeah,
Don't worry about the run. Don't worry about all this stuff that kind of floods your mind. Just go." So it's always tough, as you mentioned, right, in underwear football, to really
yeah.
understand how those outside linebackers, those edge guys, are going to look. So, I'm optimistic with him, especially when you look at his tape and how dominant he was. I know he played at the FCS level, but he was like always the
Whew.
best player on the field, which is
Always.
something that you need from FCS players. Like, just make sure that you're the best player on the field at all times, and he was that. So certainly, where I say that I'm still a little bit skeptical of the linebacker room, the inside linebacker room. I also am probably more bullish than the public on what the outside linebackers are going
Yeah,
to be in the edges, and that's something I certainly have come on here. I've come on everywhere and said it the past handful of years. Like, they are not good enough on the
yeah,
edge getting after quarterbacks. And Bowles has to create some fakakta scheme to make
yeah.
sure that he gets to get blitzes, to get
Right.
sacks. And in the
It,
end,
It
in the end,
exposes you.
it exposes your back
Yeah,
end. And so
absolutely.
now I think that room is a little bit more solidified. I have much higher expectations for them that if they want to rush four or create some pressure without sending a house or doing something silly, they'll be able to do that, and they have some depth there, especially because I really do think that Hassan and Yahya are probably one of the more underrated duos.
Hmm.
Because now Yahya doesn't have to be the lead man. And I think he
Right.
is perfect. I think he is perfect as a Robin to
Especially with
someone's
the guys
Batman.
coming from the inside. You got a tandem there with Vita Vea pushing the pocket inside, and Cansey
And
is
Kansas,
unblockable. He's
it's
unblockable at times inside.
when you talk about this, their first four out there,
Yeah,
Yaya,
that's
Vea,
strong.
Cansey, Reddick, like that is a strong defensive line right there,
Yeah,
where you have interior pressure and you also have some great exterior pressure. Yaya Diaby was one of the best last year at pressures. He didn't finish the job, but he was
right.
great at pressures. And he's also really good in the running game too. So, and Reddick is a pro in that as well. So you're really covered on that front.
I
So
got it.
that's one of
Yeah.
those things where I finally have changed my tune there on the outside linebacker edge position, and now I'm really focused on the middle of the field and wondering if they have
Yeah.
that down pat.
All right, partner. I'll give you a minute on the Rays because I know you got to get going. And as Michael LaRue said, happy Ben Rortfett DFA day. And yes,
Yeah.
we are. We are all very happy. Nice guy, but
Hmm.
you know,
It's time.
it's time.
And even he said it. Look, he
Take
said it.
Curtis Mead with you, by the way.
I would say Mead's turning it around. By the way, Mead this month he's hitting like
Okay.
300 or 280.
All
It
right.
was 200 something like that. But look, I'm not saying that Mead's going to be something special here, but it has been if Mead would have had this month in April and Cameron Meisner would have had Mead's April.
In
We would
May.
be
Yeah,
we'd be
right.
yeah, exactly, we'd be thinking totally different about
Yeah.
those guys. But yeah, I mean, look, Rundfed even said, "Look, I'd be delusional if I didn't know that this was coming. You're hitting south of 100. At some point, it's time to make a change." Matt Dice, he is not going to wow you with average, but his OBP is around like 380 for a
Yeah, I know. I
212
saw. I was
hitter.
like, wow. He gets a lot of
Yes,
walks, and that's
yeah,
great.
that's
That's great.
fine. That's all I need.
Yeah.
And a backup catcher, you're looking for
He's-
just a little bit of pop, he should
yeah.
flash. Like I think 9 to 10
Yeah.
home
9 to 10
runs
home runs, and getting
and
200 at bats. Yeah.
yeah, and just get on base, like keep the line moving. So, just Rortvedt had an amazing start to his Rays career. Pretty much outside of one other month, it's been just
Awful.
horrible
And
hitting.
he's not good defensively. So
Yeah, and nothing. Yeah, and honestly, like Alex Jackson, when he was going through all his stuff last year, actually had some defensive stuff that I liked.
yeah.
Rortvedt didn't have that stuff to his name either.
Yeah.
And Matt Dice is a fantastic blocker, something that Danny Jansen is as well. I don't think he's going to solve their stolen base issues.
Yeah.
That still remain. They still don't really have a catcher for the future who can help them defensively in that regard, which I think is vitally important in the world we live in, considering
Yeah.
this is an organization that knew stolen bases were going to be such a big deal. They stockpiled their farm system with stolen bases, and I don't think that they sufficiently got a defensive
The other
catcher.
side of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they made a high draft selection last year, and maybe that will pan out, but it's going to take 5 years to figure that out.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
that's still something that I think looking into next year. Danny Jansen's been solid, but defensively also he's great at blocking, not great at throwing, keeping runners honest. So they're still figuring that out. They've been better recently, but
Yeah.
yeah, it just I don't know if backup catcher really changes my overall thoughts on
No.
this team
No.
anyway.
Yeah.
It's I believe that sometimes I always say with this with the Rays, they're part of their charm is their patience. It's where they help certain players do breakthrough and they come through, so on and so forth. But it also is their detriment. I think sometimes they're too patient. I
Yeah.
think sometimes it's looked at as a lack of accountability because you really need to push some of your guys to be better. And if you don't threaten them going down to AAA, if you don't bring in
Agreed.
somebody that's going to push them, then it just becomes a complacent sort of world where you're saying, "Hey, we believe in you," until we don't. And really, you would like to get them into a position where they're backed into a corner sometimes, to
Yeah.
where they can maybe feel that pressure, pop out of it, versus feeling like they're the guy until like the next day they're just not.
Right. I totally agree. All right, Evan, great stuff. You can find him at Evan Closkey on the Twitter machine, the X machine, and, of course, always on Tampa Bay's 10. Thanks, buddy. You do a great job.
I appreciate you as always. Thank you so much, guys.
Yep.
See ya.
Right. And CBS Network as well, Sports Network.
By the way, we didn't get into this, but I wrote a piece yesterday over at Bucs Country on Athlon Sports about the return of Servassier Dennis.
Oh, it's huge.
What that could mean for the Bucs pass rush. And I didn't realize in a little bit of my research how far the defense fell after he went out. I think when he was in there for the first 3 or 4 weeks, they had a very, not great, but a middle ranked defense, like around 13 or 14. 3 weeks after he left, they had fallen all the way to 31st.
Yeah. Just go back, look at that Lions game where they kept them out of the end zone. Yeah. 6 or 7 red zone trips. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, the great Scott Reynolds was at OTAs yesterday as well, so he will join us from Pewter Report, so we'll get more Bucs coverage. We're brought to you by the great folks at the G's Law Group. They are local, they are trusted, and they get results. And our first hour is presented by On-Site Construction and Restoration. Go to their website, onsiteconstructionfl.com, see all the great work that they do, get all their 5-star reviews, and maybe get an idea or two of what they can do for you. They'll give you a free creative meeting there that they'll show you what they can do at your home. OnSiteConstructionFL.com. Tell them JP sent you. Back in 3 with Scott Reynolds. Although it may seem tempting to go without health care insurance, the financial risk far outweighs the gain you may experience. For example, did you know if you simply broke your leg, it could cost you nearly $7,500? Put on top of that a hospital stay, you could be looking at $10,000 to $15,000. Ensuring that you don't go uncovered is so important, as according to CNBC, high medical bills are the highest contributing factor to why Americans end up taking money out of their retirement savings, or worse, find themselves filing bankruptcy. So go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. Now, depending on your income, you can get plans for 0 premium. Our experts will guide you through the process effortlessly. They will shop many plans and find the one that's right for you. I called and I have full health coverage through Florida Blue for 0 monthly premium. It's a free call. So why go uncovered? It's a huge risk. Go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. That's 800-669-1505. Spring means a time of renewal and Rays baseball, and the folks at Italiano Insurance want to welcome the Rays to Tampa and remind you it's time to renew those insurance policies with the now famous Italiano Insurance Checkup. Let the experienced and friendly agents shop your policy for the best price and coverage. Famous for saving me over $1,000 on our auto insurance last year and over $500 on our homeowners. Now that's a grand slam. Might as well get a double play by adding flood insurance and business insurance to your portfolio. Costs less than you think, and trust me, you do not want to risk your home or personal wealth. That's a big whiff. So step up to the plate and call 813-877-7799 and chat with the all-star agents at Italiano Insurance. 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Go Rays! JP here for Riveters, our new official sports bar and grill of the JP Peterson Show. And just like our show, no BS, no corporate chain feel, just amazing, authentic folks serving great comfort food in a casual atmosphere at unheard of prices. Riveters is located just south of Raymond James and Steinbrenner Field on Dale Mabry, walking distance to the park, so free parking, great place for pregame and postgame. Let's talk about fresh food. Nothing is frozen. Burgers, wings, prime rib, roasted fresh daily, never frozen. That makes a huge difference. The mahi, the salmon, also super fresh. All our sauces are original recipes made in-house. Our Warhawk chili and fully loaded potato soup is made fresh in-house. It's the best food anywhere, served by people who actually care. Riveters on Dale Mabry, just north of 275, just south of where the Bucs and Rays play. We'll see you there. Are you looking to renovate your home, rebuild after the hurricanes, or build your dream home from scratch? Well, let me tell you about my friend Jason Fawcett and On-Site Construction. They have over 1,450 satisfied clients, 25 years of experience, over 500 designs, and a talented team of over 40 construction professionals. They believe building something exceptional begins by truly focusing on all the details, even the smallest ones. We understand that construction can be a daunting process, and we're here to make it as smooth and stress-free as possible. Quality is non-negotiable at On-Site Construction. We use the finest materials, employ the most skilled tradespeople, and adhere to the highest industry standards to deliver a product we're proud of and that you're going to love. Our project management is meticulous with a focus on completing projects on time and on budget. Your happiness is our primary driver. So give us a call at 813-579-5789 or check out our incredible website at onsiteconstructionfl.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799. Get that insurance checkup. Make sure you got your flood insurance. Here come the hurricanes. All right, let's welcome in our great friend from the Pewter Report, the great Scott Reynolds, who joins us here looking fabulous. The hair is finally poofed. You don't even look like you've been out at OTAs at all, bro. You're like, that's good. It didn't look like that yesterday. It was kind of hot.
Yeah, it was a little warm yesterday for sure. So you have to excuse my tropical shirt.
I love it.
It's gorgeous. Thank you. Just got back from a 7-day cruise with my lovely wife, Ashley, celebrating 12 years of marriage.
Awesome.
Wow. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. It was May 17th, and May 19th was my 30th year at Pewter Report. So
wow.
Lots to celebrate.
Damn.
I made it 12 years with one of my wives.
Did you? Good for you.
The most recent
stability in your life is shocking to me. I would not know what that is like whatsoever. My God, hold a job for 30 years. Who does that anymore?
Yeah, I know, right?
Crazy.
And a marriage for 12? What's wrong with you?
Here's what I found out, though. We went on a 7-day cruise down to like Dominican, Bahamas, U.S. Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands. It was a fabulous time. Great Norwegian cruise line ship, the Aqua, brand new ship. And I've kind of been a self-described workaholic. I mean, you kind of have to be to run your own business and do this.
I would agree with that.
Years.
Yes.
But what I found out on that cruise was I don't want to work anymore. I want to cruise. So, I had this on today just to keep that vibe of the 7-day
Is this
cruise.
your Vince Damoli Hawaiian shirt moment? Is this what this is right now?
I don't know who Vince Damoli is, but
he famously did the old owner of the Rays. I know you know that. He
Rays,
famously did this Hawaiian shirt press conference where he said he was stepping back from the team.
Oh, okay.
And then within 2 weeks, he was back in there. And he's like, everybody was like, oh, crap, Damoli's back.
Yep.
Major League Baseball brought somebody in to run the franchise because he was running it into the ground. So he did this press conference where he showed up in a Hawaiian shirt. And he'd always never been seen him out of suit and tie. He said, I'm stepping back, and literally within 2 weeks he was back in the building.
He didn't like that option either, huh?
Back into metal, right?
Yeah. But anyway, congratulations. That's awesome. All that stuff is
man.
fantastic. And it's a testament to your hard work, your dedication, not only to your job, but to your wife as well.
Yeah, thank you. I got a great staff too. It starts with Ashley, my lovely wife, my kids, and then the Pewter Report staff as well, past and present.
Great.
Been blessed to be around some great people because it's not all me. It's it never has been, never will be.
You've hired a lot of really, really good people, and they've grown up there and gone on to great things as well. So that's a great testament to you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, now let's talk about that jerk Hassan Reddick. Doesn't even show.
Idiot.
As Christopher Cole put in here in our co-op, he said, "You guys need to chill out.
You need to settle down."
I know you're right, Christopher. We do, but damn it, we got 2 hours to fill, so we're going to talk about Hassan Reddick.
Yeah,
not showing up. I mean, look, it's not a big deal. I get it, but if I'm gonna show the team and the NFL that I'm serious about this, I'm gonna show what else you got to do, bro. You've had 3 months off.
It's true, but I mean, it was Memorial Day weekend, so maybe there were some family obligations or something. I don't know. I don't think the team's too concerned about it. This is not a Randy Gregory situation because here's the thing: Hassan Reddick has actually shown up for phase 1 of the OTAs. He's actually been at workouts. At the team facility with the players. That's something Randy Gregory never did. His first and only appearance at one Buccaneer place was to sign the contract, of which he never got paid. So that was it. He did a Zoom press conference. Then he was never to be seen from again by anybody in the Bucs organization. This is a different situation. He was at some of the phase 1 practices. He is 30 years old. He does have his own training regimen. We have to remember that he did voluntarily sign with the Buccaneers and was part of that contract negotiation. So he knows what he's making. He knows where he wants to be. It's where he was signed. This is not like last year where he was traded to the Jets by the Eagles, right? And I don't know how much say or say he didn't have in that exchange, but this is a completely different situation. It's not Randy Gregory. It's not even Hassan Reddick of last year.
Right.
You know who else wasn't at OTAs yesterday? Levante David, Mike Evans, Vita Vea. Those are some usual suspects of guys that typically aren't there because they're in their 30s and
but their situations are
their situations are different. Yes, they're established in Tampa Bay. I get all that. But you know who else wasn't there yesterday? Jason Light. Jason Light wasn't there.
Oh, slacker.
There.
Slacker.
You don't need to be there.
I know.
You don't need to be there either.
Yep.
All right.
What's he doing?
You guys on your great page, by the way, if you don't follow Pewter Report, you must do that on the X show. This is from Pewter Report. Here's Todd Bowles talking about Hassan Reddick. He was asked about why he ain't here. Let's see if it'll play.
Oh, not playing.
Try again. All right. You are just killing me. We'll just go right to the man who recorded it and posted it then. What did Bowles have to say?
Great when it works, right?
Hate you, StreamYard.
Yeah. Listen, what he said was not much, but I think the exact quote from that was, let me pull it up here. He said, I'm sure we'll see him at some point. That was pretty much what Bowles' level of concern was about Hassan Reddick, So
I did not know he'd already been there in phase one. We did not know that, so that's good to know, and that he's been here. So it's not a big deal, but again, we need to talk about it just because of who he is and his track record. I mean, it is what it is.
Listen, I talked to some people within the organization yesterday, not Jason Light because he wasn't there, but others.
Slacker.
I know. Come on, Jason, what are you doing? But he was, missed. Obviously, they would like to see Hassan Reddick there, but at the same time, there's no alarm bells that are sounding, right? It's like you'd like to see him there, but if he wasn't, all right. We have to remember too that he has a great relationship with Larry Foote, right? The Bucs outside linebackers coach. He knows how to rush the passer. I think we can pretty much all agree universally on that, right? This is not a guy that is trying to figure out how to become a double-digit sacker. He's been there and done that. Now, can he do it again? That's the big question, right? At age 30, he'll be 31 later this year. But having said that, it's not like he's never dropped into coverage before. It's not like he hasn't rushed the passer before. It isn't like he doesn't know how to, fill his gap and play the run. He knows those things. Does he need to know the intricacies of Todd Bowles' scheme? Absolutely. At the same time, mandatory minicamp is coming up. It's on the horizon. It's about 10 days away,
right? Or
9 days away, I guess, at this point or so. Then there's mandatory training camp. So we're going to be seeing a lot of Hassan Reddick. I don't think that this is cause for alarm just yet. Now, if he misses mandatory minicamp, then you got to wonder what's going on. But I don't think that's the case. Again, he's been at some of the phase one conditioning drills with the team, so he's shown his face there. He has already made his presence known there. And listen, you know what? If I'm Chris Braswell, I don't want him there.
No,
I want more reps. If I'm David Walker, I don't want him there. I want more reps. So Marquise Watts, Jose Ramirez, et cetera, et cetera. So, we'll see Hassan when we see him.
When we see him.
For a situation like this, I've seen in the past where teams, sign a player that's a little maybe sketchy the previous few years, or they're just not absolutely sure about. And when they truly want that player at the voluntary workouts, they'll put a clause in their contract or a financial incentive in their contract. If they're there, they get paid so much more money or whatever, another $500,000 or whatever. The Bucs didn't do that with Reddick. So I don't think they had a concern coming into this thing that this was going to be an issue, and it's probably not.
Yeah. And again, it could be something as easy as he had a family obligation. He had an appointment he had to be at. It's one of those things. Like if you have a closing on a house, for example, I'm not saying he bought a house, but I'm just saying, they tell you when the closing is. It's not like, well, let me work it into my schedule. It's like, no, we're closing on this date, right? And this time, and that's it. Yeah. I don't know why he wasn't there, but again,
we'll move on.
We'll see. We'll see how he when he shows up.
What else did you learn from yesterday? Who caught your eye? I mean, Servassier had another pick.
Yeah, Servassier had another pick.
If he can only play 17 games this year, I think his defense will be immeasurably better.
I totally agree. Anthony Walker, because Levante wasn't there, those two guys working really closely. You can kind of feel the chemistry from those two out there at linebacker. And Anthony Walker got some props from Bowles. Asked him about him after the practice, and he's like, he already knows the defense. He's just a pro's pro. He's a veteran. So I think he's going to be a really good addition to this unit. Jamel Dean dropped an interception. Is that news or is that old? I think it's old, really, right? Because that's not news. It's old news, right? And Zion McCollum, I thought, had a pretty good day as well. He came through on a blitz, knocked a pass down at the line of scrimmage, and then had a kind of a diving pass breakup. Should have had a pick maybe, but we had a chance to talk to Zion after the practice. And, I get this feeling, and I've not heard this from Bowles, but I get this feeling that his defense was too static and too predictable last year. And I think he knows that, right? It's like Zion McCollum, left corner, Jamel Dean, right corner, Tyke Smith. And you kind of go back to maybe like that Eagles wild card game, right? Where Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis were healthy for the first time, like that whole season together.
Yeah, that's right.
They put Zion at like nickel and safety for that game, and it was like a new wrinkle. And I think we're going to see some new wrinkles. We had Zion McCollum on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and great interview. If you've not had a chance to see it, Zion breaks news.
That was great. He talked a lot about the new defense.
Exactly. So you're going to see a lot more playing closer to the line of scrimmage and not giving that quarterback that easy, quick slant for 10 yards on 3rd and 7, right?
Right.
And what that does,
first and 10 too. You saw
correct.
You saw Bo Nix come in here and they played off and they just said, okay, you're going to give us 10 yards for a rookie quarterback. He can get rid of the ball. We're going to take it all day long. Right. And they did.
So is it going to be press man at the line, or is it going to be a bail technique, right? Where they drop into zone? Is it going to be quarters? Is it going to be, a cover 3?
I don't care what it is. Just don't be 12 yards off the ball every freaking time.
Exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Bowles kind of mix and match a little bit. Like Zion's been very transparent. It's like he said, like, hey, the short, quick guys give me problems as a taller corner, right? Right. And so now maybe in those types of matchups where he might have, let's say, I mean, Darnell Mooney's not on the schedule, I think, but like a quicker, shorter receiver.
A Tank Dell.
Yeah, exactly. That's the type of player that would give Zion fits a little bit because of that quickness. Well, maybe in this particular game, game X, you put Zion in the slot and you make Jacob Parrish the outside corner.
That makes sense.
Do some mixing and matching there. Yeah.
That's matching up. Yeah. Instead of the offense dictating the matchups, now you can at least counter if you don't like those matchups. And absolutely.
I asked Bowles, I said, who's competing for that nickel job, right? If Tyke's moving to safety, who's competing for the nickel job? And he's like, well, Tyke's always going to be a nickel. He's a safety, but he's also a nickel. Right. And then he rattled off like Jacob Parrish, Christian Izien. He put Zion McCollum in the mix. Yeah. He put J.J. Roberts, the undrafted free agent safety out of Marshall in the mix. He's like, we actually have we have enough nickels now. We need outside corners and safeties. So I thought that was interesting that he even threw Zion in the mix at the nickel position. And that tells me that we might see some flux. We might see some fluidity in the secondary where you don't have those static guys that if you're, the worst case scenario for an offense is you go into the game thinking, all right, we're going to pick on Jamel Dean or Zion McCollum, whatever. And all of a sudden they're not where you expect them to be.
Right.
And you're not getting the matchups that you're expecting. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden on the fly, it's like, wait a minute, what is Tyke doing back in the nickel? I thought he was safety, right? Mm-hmm. Why is Zion playing free safety and Antoine's playing strong safety? What's going on here, right? And I'd love to see some of that from Bowles. And I'm not saying that that's what's cooking, but my spider sense is tingling. And I kind of think we're going to see some less static defense from Todd Bowles. Matter of fact,
the number that the distance between covers, I forget what the acronym for that is, but the difference from the receivers, the Bucs were, I think, the worst in the league or second to worst in the league.
In terms of the cushion, you mean?
Yeah, in terms of the cushion.
Yeah.
And when the receivers caught the ball, they had about like some average of like 4 or 5 yards of separation.
Right.
And it's like, holy crap. Like that's just too easy.
Yeah.
That's just too easy.
Here's the good news. We only had bowls for like 5-7 minutes, whatever it was yesterday. I'm going to break some news on your show. On Monday's Pewter Report podcast at 4:00, this is June 2nd, we have special guest Todd Bowles on the program.
Nice.
So
Nice.
We'll have him for an hour. I'm going to ask him a bunch of schematic, defensive-minded questions because I like defense. Not that there's anything wrong with offense, but it's like the second best side of the ball. And so,
What about special teams?
What's the third by default?
A distant third. Yes,
unless you need that game-winning field goal, then Chase McLaughlin's number one for me. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. I'll be looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of some of the other guys you saw out there, it doesn't have to be rookies as well, because when Jason came on our show, he talked about these second-year guys, and they expect these second-year guys to take big jumps. Now, I'm not sure how much better Buck he can get, but he'll get better. They'll use him more. Let's just put it that way. The coaches will be better with him.
Yeah.
I think Graham Barton is, and he's out there for OTAs. I think he's going to be even better. And I thought he had a great rookie year.
I think he did too. And I'll stop you right there on Graham Barton. I'm really high on Graham Barton for one reason. He still gives me Ali Marpet vibes. Like I think that he is. Yeah. And another thing, it's Cody Mauch. I think Cody Mauch's great. I think Cody Mauch has Pro Bowl potential. I mean, Jason Light is just stockpiled this offensive line with talent. It is his number one position where he can just draft. I mean, it can be a thing where he just closes his eyes and throws darts and hits bullseyes with offensive linemen. And with Graham Barton, he just absolutely, I think, is going to become a Pro Bowl center.
I agree.
I think when you look in the NFC, Frank Ragnow, okay, we'll give him his props, the Detroit center. Mm-hmm. He's the Pro Bowler, right? Now that Jason Kelsey's gone, there's another guy, another spot that's open. I think you're going to see Graham Barton and Cooper Beebe in Dallas battle for that other spot in the NFC. And I'm sure I'm probably leaving somebody out at the center position, but I just think that highly of Graham Barton. And I love what I heard yesterday from his press conference when he was talking about needing to step up and be a leader, right? A lot of times, and I remember having conversations with Tristan, and I would kind of talk to him. And the funny thing is, with my age now, we're not peers. It's almost like a father-son conversation, just with my age, with some of these younger players. Like Coach Scott comes out of me a little bit, and I just remember telling Tristan, and this is back, when they had Ryan Jensen and Allie and all this. I'm like, here's the thing. Well, actually, this was right after Allie left and Jensen got hurt. I'm like, it's your offensive line now, whether you like it or not. Like, you're the best guy. And everyone's going to be looking to you. And if you don't talk, if you don't lead, there's not going to be leadership on this line, right?
That's right.
And like, it kind of took him a minute, and it wasn't just me saying that. Trust me, there's plenty of people in the building saying that have more sway over him than me. But it's like that's the truth.
That's the reality.
It's like you can be the reluctant leader all you want, but you are the leader by default because you're that great. Well, when you're a center, I don't care if you're the third or the fourth or the fifth best offensive lineman talent-wise out of the unit. And I'd say right now, he's probably vying for number 3 with Cody Mauch, right? I'm going to give Luke Gedeke his props at number 2, and Tristan, of course, is number 1. But you are, by default, the leader of the offensive line because you are the pivot position.
You make the calls.
You make the calls. And that's one thing I was appreciated about Ali Marpet. He had the C on his chest, but Ryan Jensen was that vocal leader, right? And now Tristan's got the C on his chest, but it's time for Graham Barton to be that vocal leader too. And because you can have multiple leaders within a room because everybody has different leadership style. And to hear him come out and say, hey, I need to step up and be the leader this year. Like, for a year 2 guy, that means you're feeling yourself pretty well. You've got some confidence. And not only that, you've got the belief in everybody in that room ready for you to assume that role. And so I just think that's a natural progression for this guy. And I'm very high on Graham Barton here in year 2.
Yeah, I think, and of course, Braswell's the name that everybody's talking about. Well, at least Jason Light's talking about, Bowles is talking about.
Sure. Okay. I'm not throwing any shade towards Chris Braswell. I think he will make a jump.
Yeah.
But I think the guy that's going to leapfrog him is David Walker.
I do too.
He's a mutant.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched watching the tape yesterday that the Bucs put out. Have you watched the
X-Men? He's the Nightcrawler. He teleports into the backfield. Seriously.
Yeah. He moves differently.
He does.
He moves differently. He's got an explosion. Just watching him do the bag drills yesterday, I was like, wow.
It's not even slippery. Like a guy like Simeon Rice was kind of slippery, right? Yeah. It's like cat-like quick and had this agility and slippery. This guy just teleports. He just phases right through the offensive tackle. Now, granted, he has not taken one rep against Tristan Wirfs, one rep against Luke Gedeke, and that's coming. And I'm sure he'll win some, and I'm sure he will be humbled by those two veteran offensive tackles. But iron sharpens iron. It's only going to make him better. This cat is just different. I'm telling you, buy stock in David Walker because I think he's the real deal. You're right when you said he moves differently, and he just kind of like appears. I mean, I was just watching, and he just kind of like just again teleported into the backfield and kind of like would have had a tackle for loss. And the next play, same thing, would have had a sack. And he just did that all rookie minicamp too. He just keeps coming, and he's fun to watch.
Yep, Chris Braswell, you were on notice, my friend. All right, so Monday you got Todd Bowles.
Monday we have Todd Bowles. Then the next Monday, June 9th, we've got Jason Light at 4 o'clock on the Peter.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. All right, the big hitters are coming in. Yep. You guys are always great. Appreciate you helping me pass the time on I-4. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
All right,
I'm still trying to get JP to book Todd Bowles and Jason Light at the same time in our beautiful FanStream Sports Tampa Bay studios.
There you go.
And you just gather around the table.
The Bucs Brain Trust, right
and
there.
You just play some beer pong. We don't even need to talk football. We just play a little bit of beer pong.
Jason would play. With Todd, you'd have to coerce him with some milk and cookies.
Some milk and cookies, yeah.
Absolutely.
It'd be fun to try, though.
I think he's either 1% or 2%. It's not skim, but it's not whole either. I think with either Todd, it's 1 or 2%.
You got to live sometimes. You got to let your hair down.
Maybe we'll get him up to whole milk.
Yeah. Oh, come on now. Come on now. You can only hope. All right, Scotty. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you,
guys. Thank you.
See you next week. This team. Listen, we're talking about Hassan Reddick. We're not losing it, but it's like you got to find something negative.
I mean, it's noteworthy. It's noteworthy that he's not there. We don't know the reason, but of course we're going to talk about it. I guarantee you, every media outlet in Tampa Bay is writing about it. Every media outlet that's associated with the Jets and Eagles are writing about it.
Oh, yeah. As James says, no, that's not him. Where's the Ray Kennedy had a good one. Yeah, I said the Jets site's diva up to old tricks, talking about Hassan Reddick. The Eagles site says this reaffirms the team's decision to trade him.
All right.
He's an idiot. Just say this will make him rally, but dude, got to show up and move a weight. Well, he's been in there, for a couple of phases, but it can't hurt you to be there. That's my point. But I'm not gonna get upset about it. It's not that big a deal.
Not worth it. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not Randy Gregory.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and hear from John Gerber, our red hot PGA pro. PGA predictions coming up for your betting pleasure. We're brought to you by the great folks at Onsite Construction and Restoration. Jason Fawcett is the proprietor there. If you're looking for an honest contractor, they're hard to find, but we got one for you, onsiteconstructionfl.com. Check out the website and all the 5-star Google reviews. Lots of testimonials there, and you'll see some great pictures of their fantastic work. So it's hard to find an honest contractor and someone's going to be on budget and on time. That's onsiteconstructionfl.com. Back in 3. Stay with us. Hey, JP here for my concierge medical professional, Chris Lugo, PA. You've heard him on the show for a couple of years where he shares invaluable medical, nutritional, and supplement advice. With Chris, it's like having a medical provider as your best friend. What I love about this concierge service is the convenience and support he offers. I can text or call him 24/7 with any questions or concerns, and he'll promptly call in a prescription if needed. No office visits or copays required. It gives me peace of mind knowing I have someone genuinely invested in my health, not just focused on insurance profits. And the best part, the Bay Area Modern Medical Center's personal concierge service is more affordable than you might think. Don't let insurance companies dictate your health care. Take control of your health and wellness today. Visit BAMMC.com for more information and to schedule your initial free consultation. Empower yourself and take charge of your personal health with BAMMC.com. JP here for the Gold and Diamond Source. You know, we told you about the amazing Diamond Savings Account where your diamond never loses its value. Well, now, through the end of May, the Gold and Diamond Source will double your trade-in value up to $2,500. Just bring in your jewelry to trade, and your $2,500 piece turns into $5,000. It's time to upgrade that ring, earrings, whatever. We have gemologists on site to make the deal. Double your trade value up to $2,500. Gets you $5,000 to spend. So go through your jewelry box and get that stuff you never wear and get something new and stylish that you're going to love. Great experience, and we will double your trade-in now till the end of May. We can finance you as well. No interest for 5 years. Only at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road. Always online at goldanddiamond.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves, who lives right here and has long been a highly respected member of our community. He's a proud sponsor of the Tampa Riverwalk. Jeeves Law Group is also a proud sponsor of our Grand Central District in St. Pete and has neighborhood events throughout the year. He has an office on Central Avenue in St. Pete and one on South Howard in Tampa. You can't get more local than that. So when you need an attorney, you're going to hire some huge firm that advertises all over the state or the one that supports your favorite sports show. It's the Jeeves Law Group. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. For personal injury and personal attention, call us for a free case evaluation. That's 8889-JEEVES. That's 8889-JEEVES. Hey, Tampa Bay, it's time to get your AC unit ready for summer. And here at Third Generation Plumbing and Mechanical, we recommend getting ahead of the game, keeping your family cool before the hot summer months with one of our maintenance agreements in the hopes of avoiding the dreaded emergency service call. Our maintenance agreements include, we'll test the electrical components, check and tighten high and low voltage wire connections. We'll check the refrigerant for manufacturer's performance levels, test thermostats, calibrate if needed, clean the evaporator coil and condenser coil, and clear and treat the drain line and drain pans. Just call us at 813-961-8024 for the special rates, and a human will actually answer. 813-961-8024 or go to thirdgenerationplumbing.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll on. Dave Mishkin coming up here in just a little bit, your play-by-play man for your Tampa Bay Lightning, who's going into the Sports Club of Tampa Bay Hall of Fame next week, so we'll have that interview for you. Is Johnny ready?
Yeah, Johnny's going to be on the phone today because he's on the course. He can't do video out there.
Oh, so. Okay. Yeah, all right. We'll bring in John Gerber, PGA Pro. Big winner last week. Gave us a ham sandwich winner. What's up, brother? How are you?
Good morning, fellas. What is that? Well, I'm trying to stay warm up here. It's 52, rainy, and about 15-mile-an-hour wind. So it's a perfect memorial tournament. They get this every single year here. It's about 30 degrees. We're cooler than what it's supposed to be, but it's going to be an interesting week. I'm walking through the grounds right now, and the rough is high, and the greens are still firm. They got the sub airs, and the rough, like I said, high, and the fairways are soft. So it's a typical Murfield tournament week.
So what you're telling me is that right now, live on the air, you are literally from the rough.
You are.
I am. I can't see my shoes. How about that? I'm trying to sneak in this little halfway house. Luckily, it's Wednesday, and there's a lot of people that are smarter than me in Columbus, which that's hard to say. That is very difficult to say. That are staying home today. But yeah, it's nasty out here. Let's just say that.
Well, first of all, let's go back to last week. Big winner. Let's talk about your picks from last week. We get a 48-1 ham sandwich winner?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice little hit on Ben Griffin, 48-1. When we almost cashed in on Lucas Glover right there to finish in the top 20, he bogeyed the last hole to drop himself out. So that would have been another added bonus. But I'm not complaining after the last couple of weeks. You know, not cashing tickets. We talked about this. We talk about this every single week, every single year. You just have to follow the system and play every week. If you forget, that's one thing. But listen,
I forgot.
Yeah, well, I heard you say that earlier, which that's no surprise for me. But that's okay. That's okay. But do it every week because we jumped up our totals profit for the year, $5,460 profit for the year. That's after everything and done. And our matchup record is 32-8-4. We didn't do any matchups this past week. We just concentrated on the tournament, watching these guys. The weather could get a little bit spotty. They were pondering whether to do twosomes or threesomes, which changed the mentality a little bit. So no matchups, but we're looking forward to doing some matchups this week here at Murfield Village.
Well, nobody knows that course better than you, my friend. So let's get to the picks and let us know what you're thinking, and especially with the weather, because this will change. I'm sure how this tournament will turn out.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, every year this is one of the tournaments that you kind of have to put the weather conditions in for when you start handicapping. This can get crazy. I've been here as a kid and it snowed here in May. The end of May in Columbus. So listen,
Thanks.
it really has an effect. It is going to get better the next few days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's going to be mid 70s to upper 70s. So listen, I know we've been kind of dog cussing him a little bit throughout the year, and when is he going to win? But I really like Tommy Fleetwood at 25-1. Reason being, if you look at his closest chance to win was a couple years ago up in Canada, at a Jack Nicklaus type golf course. The weather was very similar to what is going to be this week. It's hilly. This golf course is going to be obviously a little bit longer than when he had a chance to win at the Canadian Open, but I think he fits the mold in terms of what you have to do. And it is kind of really about time for Tommy Fleetwood to win. Europeans has had a lot of success here. Justin Rose winning this tournament before. So the Europeans and the foreign players have had some success. And if there's a time for Tommy Fleetwood to kind of get in gear, as he's playing well, I like him in this spot at 25-1. Siwoo Kim at 33-1. I like him also. If you look at the trend that I'm going for this week, if you look at the guys who play pretty solid at the PGA Championship, this golf course is going to be weather-wise set up that way. It's going to be a long golf course. It's going to be played very soft, and the rough is going to be up. So the guys who played well at the PGA Championship are going to be on our card a lot, and you'll see same way with Siwoo Kim, same way with Andrew Novak, 40-1. If you look at his track record, how he's trending, he's probably been playing better than Ben Griffin has probably the last month, and that was his partner for the team event. So maybe a little extra motivation, and I like the way he's playing on tough golf courses. Kim's going to like this. It's a par 72, 7,500 yards, and 12 under par is going to win.
It's a real golf tournament.
It's just what it is. Even though the fairways are soft, Jack with the sub-air can get these greens running at 13 or 14, so he will do that. And our ham sandwiches pick, not quite a ham sandwich like we had last week. I still like this 45-1 number in Denny McCarthy. Yeah. If you look at Denny McCarthy, at the PGA Championship, finishing in that top 5, and he's finished second in this tournament before, behind Colin Moore, Coward, in that dual event that they had during COVID. So Denny McCarthy with his extra added length and the best putter in the world, to get him at 45-1 with his success that he had at the PGA, I really like him at this spot. 2 top 10 picks this week: Tony Finau at plus 375 and Harris English at plus 425. Again, 2 guys that hit the ball very high, very long. It fits the mold for a Jack Nicklaus type golf course, especially when it's soft. The fairways are pretty generous here, but you cannot hit it in the rough. And I like the way these guys, they've had success here before, Tony and Harris. So those numbers at plus 375 and plus 425, I think there's great value. You also have to look at it's a signature event, and it's a shortened field. So when you drop down that list, especially in the top 20 picks, you got to see some guys that have some value and guys that maybe are a little bit under the radar. And I like Tom Hoagie at plus 280 to finish in that top 20 spot. One of the best ball strikers on the PGA Tour, not going to make a lot of mistakes. I know hasn't been in very good form, but this might be a get-right week for him, knowing that he doesn't have to shoot 20, 25 under. Around that 10 to 14, 13, 12 is going to win the golf tournament, so I like him in that spot. And Cam Davis at plus 335. His wins on the PGA Tour have been up in Detroit, very similar type of grass with soft conditions when he's played there at Detroit Golf Club, and those 2 wins. He likes this type of atmosphere, and he's been playing well. He hits the ball very high, hits the ball very long. And if you know anything about Jack Nicklaus type golf courses, that's what he really likes when he designed golf courses. Guys who hit it high, guys who hit it long. That's how he builds his golf course. So Cam Davis fits that mold at plus 335, and getting that value in those top 20, 280 and 335 is good. There's not a lot of guys you're going to make a lot of money on the top 20 picks just because it's a shortened field, but I think there's some good value on those 2 guys to finish in the top 20.
All right, Johnny, good stuff. That's so we'll get the coverage started tomorrow. We'll look for your matchup selections. We gonna do matchups this weekend?
Yeah, if we see something that we like, we'll certainly do matchups.
All
We
right.
could be in a little bit of tough spot that with the weather, and we'll see what happens. But certainly being on grounds all week and knowing how these guys are playing, we should have some good matchup spots if we really like who's matched up with each other. But I love the card this week. We've had success here. Every single year we've cashed a bunch of tickets. I know the golf course well. So if the weather can just hold up and I don't freeze my fingernails off this week, man, we should have a great week.
Well, when you get to Florida, it ain't going to be 52, buddy. I can tell you that.
I'll take it. Trust me. I'll take whatever you want, the heat you want to give me down there.
Yes, it's getting into that 96, 97 range with 90% humidity. So, yeah. Get ready for that when you get here.
And of course, you'll see more of me and Johnny 6:00 Eastern today on From the Rough with a full preview of the 2025 Memorial Tournament with Johnny live on the grounds.
Oh, was there some deal with McElroy didn't call Jack about not playing in the Memorial this weekend?
Yeah, I'm trying to find out a little bit more information. That was a little weird. Yeah, Jack was a little bit disappointed, certainly with the lineage that they have. Rory plays at Jack's place down in West Palm Beach at the Bears Club. So I think that was, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a little bit more what actually happened, but he certainly did not call Jack and tell him that he wasn't playing. Now, does he have to? No. Should he have? Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Do people call Tiger when they don't play the Genesis?
Yes.
Do they call Arnie when they don't play the API?
Yes.
Well,
still.
Yes, they did.
However they call him now, I don't know, but they used to. Yes, for sure.
Because they don't call Byron when they don't play the Nelson.
Stop it.
Because it's not called the Byron Nelson anymore. That's why it's called the Nelson.
It is.
All right, Johnny. Well, go get warm, my friend. Great picks, and appreciate the big winner last week. Hope everybody bet it.
I appreciate you. Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
See, the great Johnny Kerber right there. Yeah, don't be an idiot like me last week and not play the card, because this is, like he said, he knows this course tremendously well. So
he really does. Chance
to make some money, cash a big ticket this week. All right, before we get to Dave Mishkin, I want to get to some of the great comments. Thomas Casper wants this to Bucs too. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. You know what though? I haven't put out an invite in a while.
You want me to invite him? Because he doesn't know me. He won't know. He'll come on the video and he'll see you. He'll be like, dang it, I got hoodwinked here.
And the only Zoom press conference he ever did, he called on me. So
there you go.
History. Ray Kennedy said Vea dropping in coverage is pretty non-static, but none of the get-her-dones understood that. That's just I think you're trying to trick teams and you're tricking yourself when you do that. Thank you, Scott, for making this Hassan Reddick issue mute. Oh, shut up, James. Talk about something.
You try putting a show run sheet together, James.
Right, exactly. He said it feels like I didn't get a long-term Teal issue. Yes, true, but he also received $12 million in guarantees, and if he was smart, he would see Bucs track record and see how Bucs take care of their players. Yeah. Absolutely. Have a great freaking season.
And I don't think that's what it is. I don't think it's that at all.
No, I didn't. When we were talking to Evan, we didn't know if he'd been in phase one. Scott said he'd been there. So that's good. That's good news. I'm less worried. Hassan Reddick, including 2025, has made $61 million the past 4 years. Chump change these days, but you give me $61 million. I'm doing what I want. It's true. Absolutely. And yes, it is a happy Ben Rohrfed DFA day. So they trade for Theus. Or Thace, whatever. How do we pronounce it?
I heard it was Theus, is what somebody told me, but Closkey said it was Thace, so that's how he pronounced it.
And I know you can't get him here right away, or maybe you can't. But why does Ben Rohrfed start last night? Why does Danny Jansen, coming off a game where he's hit a home run, he's got I think an 8-game hitting streak going. He's batting 300 in the last through the win streak, and so you got a right-handed goer, and you got to put the guy in who's batting 100. Are you freaking
90.
kidding me?
90.
90 now, yeah.
After last night.
And, of course, he came up in a big spot last night and failed. And so bad that they had runners on first and third in a one-run game, and Aranda was on third, I believe. And it's like, remember in the Little League when you had a runner on first and third, 2 outs, and the guy that was up was your worst hitter that was playing just because, he had to get his 2 innings in?
Yeah.
And what did the
everybody's
manager
rolling
do?
their eyes.
What did manager do? They said, okay, we're going to try the double steal. See if they'll throw down to second. We can score him from third because this guy at the plate ain't going to get it done. I've never seen that in the major leagues. I've never seen it in the major. But I think, and Cash said after the game, yeah, that was on me. But I'm like, man, if you're doing that little league play, it's because you got a guy in the box that has no chance to get a hit.
But can you imagine if it worked? What we'd be talking about today? That would be the lead story today.
Yeah, but
the
lead story for the Rays is they had to try it because the guy why is he playing?
And by the way, he might have
Jansen in the freaking game.
He might have ended his MLB tenure with the most Rortvat line of all time, 0 for 3 with a strikeout.
Right. Yeah. He did hit the ball hard one time. But the guy made a good play at first base. But it's just like, as we've said many, many times, if you're a serious organization, you do not put that guy in the lineup. And of course, the Rays did last night. And he comes up in a big spot and fails. It just, they lose. They won 6 in a row. They lost last night, 4-2. Good pitching again. Taj Bradley pitched well, but the offense, even through this win streak, it hasn't been the offense, although they've had a couple of big days. But for the most part, they haven't scored more than 3 runs. And so it's the offense, silly, but we're so good offensively. We're going to put in our 090 hitter instead of our red hot other catcher.
JP, I just figured out what it was.
What?
Why he was in the game last night.
Why is that?
It was his farewell game. They wanted to give him a chance to say goodbye to the fans. And for the fans to say goodbye to him. I'm surprised they didn't have a big tribute to him up on the Jumbotron.
So Gen Z. Speaking of which, did you see this Marlins player who made 3 errors coming off the field? He was crying.
Yes.
He was crying.
There's no crying in baseball.
There's no crying in baseball. Like, what did we? And there's like, all his teammates and manager went in to console him.
Oh my God!
What are we doing? What are we doing?
An embarrassment for
him. You think Tommy Lasorda would have been like, "Oh, don't cry"? You think Sparky Anderson's running over there going, "Oh, poor fella"?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine how Earl Weaver would have reacted to that? Lupinella, yeah.
Like, first of all, they wouldn't even look at the dude. They wouldn't even look at him.
Dude, he'd have been cut the next day.
They just wouldn't even look at him and just like, I'm going to come over here and strangle you.
Yeah.
So, and they just wouldn't even look at him. Number one, but first of all, you wouldn't cry. You would not cry. Jeez, Pete, come on, dude. Oh, but, and if somebody comes at me with mental health stuff, I'm like, this is baseball.
Yeah.
If he's working like as a cop or a firefighter or something where it's actually dangerous, where you're risking your life and you have a bad day and something happens and you're going to cry. You get a pass on that. You're playing freaking baseball, bro. You getting paid millions of dollars to play freaking baseball. You're going to cry?
No.
Please.
That's one of the few situations I will not accept a mental health excuse for something like that.
Well, and then of course we're gonna we're gonna give Ben Rortvedt. Oh, it's his last day. We'll give him one more at bat. Like, aren't we here to win games? I thought so. I thought that was.
He had to have a send off for the fans, though. They'll never see him again unless he's playing for another team.
And thank God he didn't have, he just said, yeah, I sucked. It's my own fault. Thank you for that, Ben Rortvedt.
He didn't cry.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he did when he got home.
Yeah, but not
dog and his wife was gone. Yeah. And his kids, and
his pickup truck.
Nah, listen, we have a heart and, it sucks for Ben Rortvedt, but like he said, I got nobody to blame but myself, at least he got the opportunity and not many people do. It was kind of good when he got here, but man, it went south and it's been horrible this year. The fact that he got 2 months on a major league team heading under 100 the entire time.
That's insane, man. I can't.
Nobody gets that opportunity.
Somebody needs to do a 30 for 30 on that.
Yeah.
Throw that in your catalog, JP.
Absolutely.
With your Stu 30 for 30.
All right. We'll take a quick break here. We're brought to you by Third Generation Plumbing. And they also do AC. Get your unit tipped up in tip-top shape for the summer. ThirdGenerationPlumbing.com is the website. Contact them through there and tell them JP sent you. They do a great job. And by the Golden Diamond Source. Golden Diamond has it going on until the end of May. A few more days. Jump on in here. Trade-in value will double up to $2,500. So they'll give you $5,000 to go shopping for something new. Just bring in your old gold jewelry, your old diamonds, and they will give you the double bump there. $2,500 becomes $5,000. Great opportunity right there at the Golden Diamond Source. Head on over there. Back in 3 with Dave Mishkin. Stay with us.
Ciao, Paolo Tini here, owner of Caffè Paradiso, voted number 3 People's Choice Award on Open Table. I want to thank all our loyal family of customers that have been enjoying our great traditional Italian dishes we make from scratch every day. It's a great family story we're proud of. Our family moved from Rimini, Italy in 1984. My dad, Caesar, started Donatello, and that's where I got the start in the restaurant business. I started Caffè Paradiso on South McDill in 1995, and we've been there ever since. From our traditional ossobuco, a veal slow roast for 4 hours, to our daily fresh catch, the Gruppo Paradiso, with a piccata sauce and lobster claw meat, homemade pasta like lasagna, farfalle salchicha, which is a bow tie pasta homemade with fresh sausage. Hold on a minute, JP's favorite.
I love it.
So come and have a glass of wine with me on South McDill. Get a reservation on Open Table and see all our 5-star reviews. Ciao, see you soon at Paradiso.
Going through a medical emergency without health care insurance can cause you to go into crippling debt. In most scenarios, people are forced to either break into their retirement funds or worse, they're forced to file for bankruptcy. The sad truth is that health care insurance is crucial in today's day and age. Look, I get it. Many of you think you're never going to get sick and health insurance is really expensive. Well, we can help you out with that. Depending on your income, we can find great plans and huge discounts. God forbid you get cancer, a car accident. It could literally ruin you financially for life. So make the call and find out. Even though the open enrollment period is over, you may have some qualifying life events that can help you get covered right away. It can be very complicated, a very intimidating process, but we can help. Go to our website and check out all the 5-star reviews about our helpful agents. Go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. That's 800-669-1505. JP here for Riveters, the official sports bar and grill of the JP Peterson Show. We're located just south of Ray J and Steinbrenner Field, so it's a great pre- and post-game spot, and the happy hour is amazing. Monday through Friday, 3 to 7. Check out these specials. $3 Bud Light drafts, $4 domestic bottles, $5 wells, $6 premium wells, $6 cocktails like margaritas. It's unheard of. And the Riveters food is freshly made daily. No freezers. Happy hour food specials include $3.50 tacos and barbecue sliders. $6 you get edamame or chips with the beer cheese, which is amazing. $8 buffalo chicken dip, my favorite. The truffle fries, chili cheese fries, also $8 at happy hour. As well as other specials throughout the week, including Taco Tuesdays, you get $3 tacos, and Wing Wednesdays, 7 o'clock to 1 a.m. in the morning, you get our amazing wings, 5 for $5 and $5 wells and wines. That's a good Wednesday night. So if you're tired of the preppy, overpriced, generic sports bars, come see the amazing, friendly bartenders and staff at Riveters, where customer service really matters. Riveters, just south of where the Rays and Bucs play. We'll see you there. JP here for my friend Jason Fawcett, owner of On-Site Construction. They do residential and commercial renovations and new construction. As a leading home builder and general contractor, On-Site Construction prides itself on transforming homes through superior craftsmanship, dedication to client vision, and an unmatched commitment to quality and service. It's about building relationships. We take the time to understand our clients' needs, preferences, and budgets so that we can deliver a personalized experience tailored to their unique vision. From the initial designs to the final touches, we're there every step of the way, ensuring that the end result mirrors your vision. Here are some testimonials from happy customers. G. Gibson says, no hidden costs, very honest, reliable, creative, and communicates well. Reasonable and fair with their pricing, no hidden costs. C. Smith said, did not disappoint. I'm very happy with the work. This company really cares and will take care of it. So if you're just thinking about building or renovating, give us a call and let's see what's possible. 813-579-5789 or check out our website at onsiteconstructionfl.com.
Let's go.
right now. Back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, presented by Onsite Construction and Restoration, OnsiteConstructionFL.com. You're an honest contractor. Go to the website. Tell them JP sent you, OnsiteConstructionFL.com. And, of course, Cafe Paradiso. And the great folks at Riveters. We were there yesterday. That was super fun. We had a lot of fans show up. We gave away those front row tickets to my man Brennan, who I will probably have him calling in tomorrow.
Really?
To, talk about his great experience at the game.
What time's the game today?
1 o'clock.
Okay.
1 o'clock, 1:10. It's going to be a hot one today.
See if he survived.
So we'll be doing that.
And we'll see who he took with him, because there was somewhat of a debate on who he was taking.
Yeah, whether it was going to be the girl or one of the boys. So we shall see. We'll be peeking in. He'll be right behind the dugout. Yeah. So we'll do that again. And last night I had the wings. The wings were awesome. And Keith had the prime rib tacos.
Oh my gosh. He's still gonna have what's her name? Jennifer, bring me some wings, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Seriously, they're blue cheese and the wings are just the best.
I love a good homemade blue cheese, man. There's nothing better.
Go by Riveters. Check that out tonight. You can watch the hockey game, and we got a little hoops going on tonight as well.
That's a fact.
That's what do we got on the yep. So 8:30 Minnesota, Oklahoma City, as OKC tries to close things out, and then we got Florida and Carolina at Carolina, and the Panthers trying to close things out. So go watch that at Riveters, and the Rays game at 1:10. Head on over. ESPN just put out their football power index for the NFL. ESPN Analytics. The Eagles are 1. The Chiefs are 2.
Ugh.
I don't get that. Ravens are 3. Lions are 4. Bills are 5. Commanders are 6.
Okay, I can see that.
Okay. Bengals at 7.
No, can't see
They're
that.
horrible defense. Packers at 8. Chargers at 9. Chargers at 9.
I can see all of that, except they shouldn't be ahead of the Bucs.
None of these teams. Rams, no. 49ers. 49ers?
No. What?
Oh. Broncos.
Okay.
Texans. And then the Buccaneers at 14.
Okay, that is way too low for the Buccaneers.
Way too low. So in front of them are Texans, Broncos, 49ers, Rams, Chargers, Packers, Bengals, Commanders, Bills, Lions, Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles.
So also
order.
Interestingly, on the ESPN website, NFL writer Ben Solak put out not one, 2 different articles talking about the Bucs being the biggest threat in the NFC after the Eagles.
I agree.
So he had one article posting, well, they are the biggest threat to the Eagles in the NFC. And then he had another article where he wrote that they are the biggest threat in the NFC after the Eagles. And I agree with both of those things.
Yeah, I do too. 100%. All right. So we will be at a week from today. The Sports Club of Tampa Bay will have our annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And it's going to be an incredible night. Evan Longoria will be there. John Cooper, Dave Mishkin, Dick Vitale, Dominic Sayo, Rob Higgins, who will join us on Monday.
What time do I need to show up for my induction for that? By the way, I haven't got my letter yet.
Just stand by your mailbox.
Okay, all right.
Coming soon enough.
Fingers crossed.
Dave Mishkin will also be honored and is going in as well. My colleague on the Lightning Radio Network, obviously iconic calls in Lightning history. So we chatted with him yesterday about his career coming up. And, of course, at the end of this, we'll talk a little Lightning and what they need to do coming up this next offseason. So here's my interview with Dave Mishkin. He'd like to welcome in one of my great colleagues and friends, now author. He's the novelist. He's the great Dave Mishkin, Lightning broadcaster for 22 years now, is it, Dave?
Oh, man, you're making me do math. I guess. So we missed a year. So here's the thing. We missed the 04-05 season. So in terms of seasons, it was 23 seasons because we did some work during that season where there was no hockey. But hockey years, it was 22. But I was earning a paycheck that year, thankfully. Some of my colleagues were like, you get paid by the game. No games, no pay.
No pay. I know that
was the Davidson group that was very gracious after the Lightning won the Cup in
Ownership
04,
is
we missed
everything.
the whole season. So we did get paid. We got a portion of our paycheck, but that was enough. It was still pre-kids for me, JP. So it was a little easier to make ends meet.
Well, I want to say congratulations and well-deserved as you go into the Sports Club of Tampa Bay Hall of Fame. I'm honored to be able to MC this event next week and just to be able to call you up. And just so you know, I do a little monologue.
I was there last year.
So, you got
I heard your stuff. I'm ready.
So you got something coming. I don't know what I haven't written it yet, but you got something.
You're going to not be able to talk about me like you did Aaron Andrews, though. I wasn't like putting on makeup in the dressing room at Channel 8. Like, you don't have those stories to tell.
Yeah, that's great. And we appreciate that, by the way. John Cooper will be part of it. We're not sure if he's going to be able to make it or not. He's got some prior engagements, I know. But Tony Dungy is going in as well. I don't want to forget anybody. Dominic Sayo. I think we got the name right. And we got Dick Vitale going in. Rob Higgins is going in. Who am I forgetting? There's
Evan Longoria.
Evan Longoria. They will be there. So, yeah, I always forget somebody. It's going to be a heck of a night. And we're so thankful that you're part of this class and you're going to be there. So what does it mean to you? I mean, you're far from done. You're far from Peckham. You're not done with your career. So there's a Hall of Fame, lots of them waiting for you. But this might be one of the first big ones and big moments where you're professionally recognized for something that you've done, and you've been such a part of the culture here in Tampa Bay. So what does it feel like?
So I'm very honored, and I know not everyone listening to your show is going to be able to hear the speech. So I'm going to share a little bit, probably what I'm going to talk about next week, because this is what I believe. I've been very lucky to find something I love to do and then find someone to pay me to do it. So, I mean, early in my career, I don't even know how many people would have been listening to. Can I say I had a career when I wasn't even being paid, when I was just doing it as an extracurricular activity in college? I mean, we might have had one or two listeners, and it didn't matter to me. I was doing something I loved to do. And when you're talking in front of a microphone to an unseen audience, you have no idea how big or little that audience is. But at least speaking for myself, and I probably speak for you as well, it doesn't change how you approach what you're going to say or how you approach your craft. And so I feel that I've been blessed, honestly, to be able to do something I love to do. So everything else is gravy. It honestly is. Now, there are the realities of life, JP. Like when I started this, I was really not making much of a salary at all, but it was just me. I was living in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, which is, a small town east of Pittsburgh. The cost of living wasn't as high as it was in bigger cities. This is also going back to the early 90s. Yeah. So the dollar went a little bit farther. But, as I met my wife and we had a family, like there are parts of life that need to fall into place. And it just so happened, like, I kind of got to the NHL. I had 11 years in the minors, but as I got to the NHL, like that personal side of things was also getting, I'll just use this word, a little bit more complicated, right? Yes. It wasn't just me anymore. Mm-hmm. So that part did fall into place for me, but I have felt fulfilled in terms of what I've been able to do with my career. So whether it was calling games in the minors, the majors, calling Stanley Cups, calling deep playoff runs, calling memorable moments, all of that is gravy, honestly. And this is just one more element to that. So I'm very honored. I'm thrilled to be going in with the induction class that you mentioned, some true legends there. But that's kind of how I look at it, that I kind of already won. Yeah. If you're looking at it that way, like I found a career that was fulfilling for me and been able to do it, my entire professional life. So even without a Hall of Fame induction, Sports Club of Tampa Bay, my level of satisfaction in terms of, how I've built my career wouldn't change one iota.
That's awesome. So you started in Johnstown. So was it Hershey?
Johnstown for 3 years and then Hershey for 8.
Hershey for 8. What are minor league hockey broadcasters doing? Like, what are your remembrances of those days?
Well, the job So the job hasn't changed and the job has changed a little bit. What hasn't changed about the job is it's not just broadcasting. That was true when I was in the minors. So really at the NHL level, I broadcast and that's my primary responsibility. We are asked, the collective we, but also Lightning broadcasters are asked to do some other things, but it's primarily do a good job on the broadcast. That's what you're hired to do. Mm-hmm. At the minor league level, because the staffs are so much smaller, the broadcaster in many instances is wearing like 7 hats. Right. What has changed is those hats are a little different now. I mean, social media didn't exist, when I was in the minors. I got the job with Lightning in 2002. So you can imagine what the previous 11 years would have been like in terms of, we had computers, right? Like I produced game notes that were, done on a computer and we printed them out. But the speed of information dissemination was just way, way slower. We had to rely on press releases. So I wrote press releases. They still exist. It's just different now. So I think
PR
today's,
guy too.
But I was the PR guy,
right? The PR department.
Yeah, that's basically it. And I selling advertising. I think that still happens.
Selling ads, nice.
Yeah, but nowadays, like you really have to be adept with doing video. Probably you have to, build features. The John Franzone, Gabe Marte wing of the Lightning that probably falls into the job description for the minor league broadcaster, and being able to be nimble on social media. I'm not sure if the broadcaster has to do all of that, but I bet there's some of it. Yeah. So that part, like what is done changes, but the fact that you're not only the broadcaster hasn't changed.
Right.
And so you have to learn to manage your time and understand that for the people who are like, well, I have a broadcast coming tonight, I need to spend 12 hours preparing. Like that's just not going to happen, right? You're basically your preparation is all the other stuff that you're doing.
Right.
Like I found actually doing the game notes helped me prepare for the broadcast in some way, even though I was writing the game notes when it was a home game. And you're operating usually 3 games on 3 nights in the minor leagues. That hasn't changed. Wow. So, bus that's rides? With travel, bus rides. Absolutely. Yeah. So in the AHL, which is the league that Hershey is in and was in, which is essentially AAA. The Lightning's affiliate, Syracuse. Syracuse's first year in the AHL was my first year in the AHL. So that tells you how long Syracuse has been in the AHL. So like there are teams in the Northeast. And again, when I was in the AHL, some of these teams are no longer in the AHL, but you had Providence, you had Springfield, you had Worcester, you had Portland. Like they were all fairly close. Mm-hmm. Bus ride close. Hershey was not so much close to any other opponent. Yeah, Philadelphia came in. They were a big rival of ours when the Flyers moved out of the Spectrum. They put a minor league team in the Spectrum for a handful of years. That was an hour and a half. That was basically the closest trip we had. And then Wilkes-Barre Scranton, which is still in the league, came in. Yeah. They were about an hour and a half. Everything else is like 4 hours plus.
That's a lot.
So, you're playing on the road on a Friday. Usually that was the Hershey schedule. We might be in Rochester, playing at 7:30. Game ends. Everyone gets on the bus. You bus through the night back to Hershey for a Saturday home game. You're getting in at probably 3 a.m. And for me, like I'm rolling right into the next day, getting the game notes ready. Like everything has changed, right? All the stats have changed. Yeah. The whole league played on Friday. So that was Saturday. You're working all day. You're calling the game that night. And then usually there was a Sunday game. If it was at home, you went to bed at a reasonable hour. If it was on the road, you got back on the bus after the Saturday game and you went to wherever you were going for the Sunday game. And then you usually had some time off early in the week in terms of no games, but you still went into the office, right?
Right.
So it is a grind. And honestly, I kind of love the grind. And I think that's the attitude that is necessary, because if you don't really like doing the other stuff, if you're not really all in, it really becomes work, and it's hard to maintain that for, in my case, 11 years. But I didn't ever really felt like it was work. I felt it was.
Do you
fun,
remember the
right?
call? Like I always love the call ups for baseball. When they because we see them on social media now all the time. Do you remember the call? They get to the bigs.
Yeah. Like? So for the minor league guys who were like knocking at the door, maybe you hear, oh, somebody got hurt or whatever, like, oh, maybe it's me. my situation was a little bit different because neither one was completely out of the blue. I knew I was in the running for both. I'm talking about Johnstown to Hershey,
right.
Hershey to Tampa Bay, because I had an interview in the Hershey case. Hershey was the affiliate of Johnstown my third and final year there, because just like the Lightning are affiliated with Syracuse, Syracuse has an affiliation agreement with Orlando in the ECHL. So Hershey's affiliation agreement my third year in Johnstown was with Johnstown. So I got to know the GM. I got to know Jay Feaster, who was
that's right.
He was actually the GM, and then Doug Yinks was the assistant GM, and then Jay ended up getting promoted, and Doug became the GM. But at the time, Jay Feaster was the GM. I had met both of them because, they had come to watch Johnstown play, and they had an opening, and I knew they had an opening, and they interviewed me. So I knew that I was on the short list, and it seemed likely that I would get the offer, and I did. So I was very, very happy about that. Fast forward 8 years, Jay Feaster is now the GM with the Lightning. And so when John Ollers, who was my predecessor with the Lightning on radio, he was up for the Anaheim TV job. He got that job. He's still in Anaheim doing TV. But while this was kind of coming together potentially for John, Jay Feaster called me and said, get your stuff together. John Ollers may be getting the TV job in Anaheim. So I didn't send it to the director of broadcasting, who at the time was Jason Dixon, who I know you know well from his time here. It went to Jay. So basically, Jay is going into Jason Dixon's like, I think you should give this guy a listen. So yeah, I mean, I knew that I had a pretty good shot at it. But yeah, and then they flew me in for an interview, and they, like, you kind of can see which way the wind is blowing, but it doesn't make it any less thrilling. And for the people who were like, whoa, it's all inside baseball, it's like, let me tell you, there were a lot of jobs that I applied for where I had no shot because I didn't have that connection.
Right.
And
but relationships are important.
It's relationships. That's what it is. So there are a lot of demos out there that were just as good as my demo. But what Jay was able to vouch for, first of all, he hired me 8 years earlier. So that counted for something. But even if that person didn't hire you, let's say somebody's calling a Jay Feaster and being like, tell me about this guy that you hired and worked for you. It's less about the broadcast. It's more about all the other stuff that would make an employee important and valuable. Like, does this employee show up on time? Is this employee a team player? Particularly when you're talking about a sports team. Yeah. Is it, me, no high-end team? Like, there are things that you can't get from the demo or from a resume that are important to know, because the last thing anyone in this position that's doing the hire wants to do is go back to the drawing board a year later.
Absolutely.
So that's where that kind of stuff matters a lot.
Yeah. So you get to Tampa, and obviously your style is one that cannot be duplicated. The animated way you call it, and I love the emotion of which you call the games. And I can tell that you are passionate, not only about the game, but very much so about Lightning hockey. And I love that about you. I would imagine a lot of the people that aren't Lightning fans don't. And when you're on the road, and I know there's a lot of open press boxes, and when you go nuts like that, it's usually in a very quiet building. How do you have any stories on how that has played out at all? Have you ever had the issues with other fans? Because I'm sure they could hear you down on the ice when the Lightning score.
Yeah. So now a lot of the press boxes in the newer buildings, they're not cookie cutter, because some are closer to the ice, some are farther from the ice, but you do have more separation from the fans in front of you. Like, there's a drop, kind of like an Amalie. I mean, you've seen the press box in Amalie. There is a drop there. But there were some of the older buildings where you're basically right there with the fans, and certainly in the minors that was the case. Yeah. So so it's kind of funny. I have a busy week next week. We have the Hall of Fame event on Wednesday, but then I've actually been invited to the Commodore, which is a comedy club in Ybor City, on Friday to do storytelling. So basically I tell a story, hockey related, and then these improv actors like do bits based on the story.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's funny, because I was thinking, well, like, what are my stories going to, so I'm going to do a couple from the book, which, are kind of hockey related. I have one minor league story, but I was like, I should do something with the Lightning. So I had this story. I'm guessing there's not going to be a huge crossover audience, although maybe there is. So if you're listening and you're going to the Commodore, don't ruin the story for the people in the audience.
Spoiler alert, right?
Yeah, spoiler alert. So the Lightning are playing the Red Wings in 2015 in the playoffs, and they are in trouble in the series. They split the first two in Tampa, and they got suffocated in Game 3 and had just could not generate anything. They're down 2-1. Game 4 is looking just like Game 3. Again, in Detroit, and this is the old Joe Louis Arena, which is it's close quarters. Like the press box is basically just one row up from the top row in front of you. So Game 4, the Lightning are trailing 2-0, and it's fairly late in the third period. And interestingly, it was Luke Glendening. He was kind of the linchpin for this Lightning comeback because he had been in Tyler Johnson's back pocket through those two games. And that line with Johnson, Palat, and Kucherov, which was one of the best lines in the NHL that year, could not really get much going, particularly in Game 3 and then for much of Game 4. So what happened late in Game 4, Glendening gets pulled off the ice in a matching minor situation, which created a 4-on-4, but Johnson was not one of the penalized players. Johnson doesn't have Glendening on him anymore. And the Lightning go boom, boom, and score two quick goals. Johnson scored one, then he set up Palat for the tying goal. So it's 2-2 in like the blink of an eye. Like they snatched this deficit, they took the deficit and it was gone. Like I'm talking like last 4 minutes of the third period. So we get close to overtime and Glendening gets banged up. And so he's not available at the beginning of overtime, and Johnson scores in overtime. You may remember this game.
Right, yes.
So the Lightning had it was a staggering, shocking comeback and got them to 2-2. They would lose Game 5 at home. They won the last two games in that series. And, you think about what would have happened if the Lightning had lost that series. Yeah. It was John Cooper's second year. They had been swept the year before in the playoffs. And it was kind of I think they were expected to do more. And they did do more that playoff year. But what if the series had gone the other way? How different would history look from 2015 to now? Anyway, it didn't. So Johnson scores in overtime, and I go bananas, right? This Red Wing fan, he has a water bottle. He throws the water bottle at me. It missed, right?
Thank God.
So there was still liquid in there, and I'm wondering, because it was clear, if to my benefit, it may not have been water in that water bottle. And he may have been celebrating what he was expecting to be a victory until there were 4 minutes left. So yes, sometimes my enthusiasm does not sit well with the fans of other teams. So that was an extreme example, because if I had been on the Detroit side, that would have been a gut punch of a loss.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just screaming, go, score! God, that's fantastic. Dave Mishkin joining us here, Lightning broadcaster, going into the Sports Club of Tampa Bay Hall of Fame on Wednesday. That style, where did that generate from? Were there other broadcasters? Yeah, the animated style that which you when you score, when the Lightning score, where did that come from? Is it just totally organic? Was it your first call when you were in Johnstown? That's the way it went?
Well, when I started doing it as an extracurricular activity in college, I basically took two tenets into kind of how I wanted to do play-by-play on radio again. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was born from what I liked listening to and watching when I was a kid. So I was born in New York City, but we moved to suburban Boston when I was still fairly young. My New York sports roots were not deep. Even though those were the first teams that I rooted for. So really, I grew up listening to a lot of the Boston sports announcers, and even with the New York announcers, I liked listening to the team announcers because I felt like they were sharing the emotion that I had.
Yes.
I liked not all the announcers were necessarily as enthusiastic as the others, even though they were all kind of Boston-based announcers. But I found that I liked it when the announcer for quote unquote my team didn't call it down the middle. So when I started doing it, I'm like, okay, well, that's what I like. So I'm going to do it this way. That was one. And the other was I made a conscious decision. This is unrelated to kind of the decibel level, but on radio, I made a conscious decision to be really, really descriptive. Now, not everyone is descriptive as I choose to be, and this is really personal preference. There's no one right way to do it. But if you listen to other announcers, I probably err more on the side of being uber descriptive than more what I'll call narrative, where like you leave the puck, right? And nothing's really happening per se. It's like D to D, and you're talking about something else. I tend to stay in the puck, okay? And so those are kind of my two building blocks. And so I don't sound the same now as I did when I started doing this in my late teens. My voice is probably a little more cultured, like you have that pipsqueaky,
I look at my old tapes. Yeah, it's not.
We do sound a little different. I think some of that is the benefit of experience.
You ever go like, age. I sounded like that? Why did anybody hire me? Are you kidding?
Well, I even hear some of the gold calls I had from my earlier days with the Lightning. I think I don't necessarily sound the same now as I did then, and that's just a natural progression. But the level of the willingness to be enthusiastic has been consistent. So even though I may not sound exactly the same for a goal caller, I did other sports too, touchdowns, 3-pointers at the buzzer, whatever you want to look at in any sport, like a big moment. I wanted to show enthusiasm for the team that I was covering. Now, if I were doing a national game with no skin in the game, I would call it way differently. I would call it down the middle. I've done some like Tampa Bay based high school championship games. I'm calling that down the middle, and I try and be enthusiastic for both sides, but it is different when, I'm a team employee, which I am, and I'm calling games for that team. And not everybody feels quite as strongly about it as I do. And, some of my colleagues like to call it down the middle more, and that's perfectly fine. That's their choice. I make a different choice.
Yeah. I like it. I think fans love it. So when you get the big call, like I'm fairly certain that Jim Nantz scripts some stuff. I'm fairly certain some people prepare for moments like that. Do you do that? I don't think you do. Not that one's better or not. It's just personal preference, as you say. But and when you hear your big calls, like you hear the Lightning is one to Stanley, it's just so. It's such an iconic thing for us as fans, and I consider myself a fan of you. And do you think about it in the moment? What is your approach?
I never tried to think about what I might say ahead of time. I mean, look, it's not like I'm reinventing the wheel when I say the Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. So, I mean, that is a pretty normal reaction, but I try and react in the moment, because most of what I'm doing is reacting in the moment, right? I think for the 2021 Cup, I got in there, the Lightning have done it. They've gone back to back, So, I mean, that is not like I didn't reach for grasping at straws to come up with this, but maybe what you're thinking is like the emotion behind it, right? So it's not just the words, it's kind of the moment. And I think you do need to be in the moment. I honestly, if I tried to script something, I would probably mess it up. And, I don't think I wanted to really do that. So I try and keep my brain as clear as possible. I will tell you, because I've been asked before, like, do you have a favorite call? I'm like, you're asking me to like pick my favorite kid, which is probably unfair. I've got two kids and I love them equally.
Of course we do.
But I will tell you that one of the more challenging calls that was a huge, huge goal, I feel like I did as well as I could have. And that was when we were calling off the monitor during the bubble tournament. This is Lightning were playing the Islanders in Edmonton. It was what they called, actually it wasn't the semifinal, it was the Eastern Conference final. It was the next year that we had the weird conferences. And so the Lightning and Islanders are in game 6. It's in overtime, and Sorelli scores, and the Lightning win the series, and they're going to advance to the Stanley Cup final. And it was really hard to tell what was going on there, because it was like a jam play at the net. Goodrow got it to the net. Right. Sorelli's jamming at it. Like, nobody's sure, is it in? Is it, even Sorelli is kind of
you're watching it on the monitor.
And we're looking at it. It was a big monitor, but it was still like it's 2 dimensions. Like, it's different than being there. And like, I'm not quite sure how I got it, but I got it. And like, I'm unsure as Sorelli's unsure, and then as Sorelli knows, I know, right? It's almost like I'm
watching him,
reading him, right? It was a tricky call. Like, and these happen sometimes. I remember when Patrick Kane scored the winning goal in 2010 to win the Stanley Cup for Chicago. Like, nobody knew it was in the net.
Right.
Like, I don't even remember.
You don't want to be the guy calling
I was like,
that.
oh my gosh, what a nightmare of a goal call. And my buddy John Weideman, like, he crushed it. He did a great job with it. He's the Hawks broadcaster.
Yeah.
It was tricky. This was tricky too. And I felt like the call met the moment. So that's one that I'm proud of, just based on the circumstances. It would have been different if we'd been calling the game in Amalie or on Long Island if it had not been those circumstances. But it was, and it was a huge moment because it's an overtime goal. It's a game-winning goal. It's a series-clinching goal. It's getting you to the Stanley Cup final. Like, checked a lot of boxes, right?
Yeah. You don't want to blow that one for sure.
No.
And you didn't.
Kind of hard to go back and re-edit those.
It's
like, what, this goal call sounds kind of funny. What's going on here?
And I've seen some bad calls and bad moments, and it's like that. And for broadcasters, that's it. It's like that's you could have your Hank Aaron moment, or you could have your Bill Buckner moment.
It kind of goes back to what you were saying about thinking about what you're saying ahead of time. So I mean,
in the moment. Yeah.
I've tried to just react as I would every other second that I'm calling a game, where I'm reacting to what I'm seeing.
All right, so you got out of your comfort zone a little bit, or maybe not, and became an author and wrote a novel. And you
thank you for having me on. I think we talked about this when it came out.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. I've gone into some other realms myself, but it's coming out of your comfort zone. You're so good at something, meaning you, and then you're doing something departure. But I always say, write what you know, and that's what you did. And so you can combine that, that fiction with the real world, and that's where you get really good stuff. And it's been incredibly well received. How has this whole process gone for you? And how much of it was as much for you as it is for the reader?
Super rewarding. Like, the whole experience has been incredibly rewarding. And so you asked, like, how was it to go outside my comfort zone? I tried to write this in the late 2000s and didn't get very far and got frustrated and put it away. So I knew that whatever standard I was setting for the book and for myself, it didn't even come close to meeting it. So I didn't move forward with it. And it came together for me. The story did, some 15 years later. And once I had the story, I knew that it was a compelling story. So, like, it's one thing to go out of your comfort zone, but I wasn't completely out of my comfort zone because I knew I could write some of the hockey stuff.
Right.
And I believed that the story was a compelling one. Like, when you know that, I wouldn't say the story wrote itself, but I knew I had, like, the bones and guts of something that would meet that standard, basically. Yeah. And so once I finished it, I was very, very happy with how it turned out. Now, like broadcasting, like anything else, this is a subjective business. So like, not everyone is going to love this, and you have to go in with your eyes wide open. Not everyone loves me as a broadcaster. So maybe the fact that I've had that as my career helps in a way. So what is the most important audience to yourself? Like, if you are happy with the story, that's kind of like what I was saying about the broadcasting. Like, on some level, I had already won. Now, I could have just chosen not to put it out there, but I felt it was a story that I wanted people to read. So, like, it mattered a lot to me, but it has mattered a lot to me that, the people who have gotten the book, and some people get the book and sit on it for a while, which is something else. Like, this isn't a 15-second YouTube video, right? Like, it's an investment in time. I understand that. So reading isn't for everyone. And I am, by the way, based on some urging I've gotten from people, going to be doing an audio version of this. And I was encouraged to do it myself. So that's one of my summer projects. It may bleed into next season if I time, from a marketing standpoint, timing it wise, I may kind of launch this audio version in the fall. But some people do like listening in their car, right? They don't like picking up a book for whatever reason, but they're in their car.
Yeah.
They'll listen. So it's
I
not
do
just the
that a lot,
story,
yeah,
it's the
as
medium too. Not everybody likes to read. Some people who like to read don't like sports at all, even though this really isn't a sports book. They're like, this isn't for me. You understand that.
Yeah.
But the people who have gotten it, who have read it, and some people get it and sit on it for a while, and I do that too. I don't always read a book I get right away. But those who have read it, the ones that have talked to me about it have told me how much they enjoyed it or connected with it, and that's been super rewarding too.
Yeah. All right. I'd love to keep you all day, but I can't do that. Real quick, let's talk a little bit. Let's finish up this season, kind of look to the off season. You and I were talking before this that losing to the Panthers is by no means embarrassing. They are a wagon, and they're proving it as they go through these playoffs. And I thought the Lightning had a fantastic season. And, I heard that after the disappointing loss, there was, we need to trade. I literally had somebody write in my comments, we need to trade Vasilevsky. We need to trade Coop or trade Cooch and get a new coach. Okay, that's the definition of overreaction, my friend. Like, we're okay. We still have a window here. They got an incredible core of these players, and continuity wins in any league. There's no need for wholesale changes, and I firmly believe that. That said, the Panthers kind of have our number, like we had their number for a while. And you're not like you build a team to beat one team, but I think Julian did a great job of taking a core that he had and turning it into a Stanley Cup champion. And you have to remake yourself every year, and he has to do it again. And I have great confidence that he will. But I do anticipate some changes. Where do you come down on how this whole playoff loss went to the Panthers? Obviously, some controversial plays in there. And where are we now moving forward?
So this is why the general manager's job is so difficult, because you come out of that series where the Lightning, they got outplayed. They did. Yep. They were not deserving of winning that series, no matter how you slice it. But at the time they lost the series, the Panthers had not yet dismantled Toronto, and I'll use that word, and they had not yet really done a number on Carolina, which had won 2 rounds. We have more information now than we did when the Lightning Panther series ended. But basically you have to almost split it into 4 parts. If you imagine a pie chart, okay? And then you have 4 slices of the pie. One slice is how much of this is just Florida, right? One slice is how much of it was due, at least part of this pie, to the injuries the Lightning had. They had injuries. They didn't have Oliver Bjorkstrand for the series. They had an affected Luke Glendening, who got hurt in the last week of the regular season. Game 1, Cirelli sustains a knee injury. Gord breaks his finger. Hagel gets concussed and, had to miss a game as well. So, the Lightning we saw in the series, in many ways, was not the Lightning that they wanted to have in the series. How much emphasis do you put on that? Third slice. How much of this is just on us? We need to look in the mirror and say there is something systemically off that we need to adjust. And then the fourth slice is how much is this just as Julian says sometimes, the randomness of hockey. Like we didn't have a great week. We didn't get bounces, which that was part of it too. So I'm not saying that like the look in the mirror part is like 90% and the other 3 provides 10%. It's up to Julian to determine how much emphasis he puts on all of this. And what I got from him, and this is right after the series ended, what I got from him in that press conference, he likes his team.
Yeah.
So he is putting way more emphasis on what he saw over 6 months and 82 games than what he saw over 8 days and 5 games. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the third one that I gave, which is like something systemically wrong. I think that's a very, very small slice, if it even is a slice for Julian.
Could we be more physical? Could we be bigger? Could we be?
You have to be who you are. So like, you don't want to have to spend a lot of time in your own zone, right? No. But if you have to spend time in your own zone, you want to be structured. So the other team isn't getting much out of that. There are a lot of different ways to go about doing that. The 2016 Pittsburgh Penguins were not a big, strong physical team. They were a speed team. They were a behemoth. Like the Lightning lost to them in 2016 in 7 games. They got that series to 7 games in large part because of Vasilevsky, who came in for Bishop, who got hurt in game 1. The Lightning really got outplayed for much of that series. Were the Penguins in 2016 like this year's Panthers? No. But they dominated that playoff year.
Yeah.
What about the LA Kings of 2012 and 2014? They are probably a little bit more like this version of the Panthers. It was like structure, physical. Yeah. Like we're not taking any chances. We're not risking anything defensively to even look for offense. I'm not quite sure the Panthers are quite that extreme, but they're probably cut from that sort of cloth. I guess my point, JP, is that it's a twofold point. First of all, there are a lot of different ways you can win. It's really about building a team to your identity and then executing. Okay. And then, the other part is you don't want to build a team specific to beat one other team.
Right.
If you feel that that's the right way to go, because as Julian said, you may not see that team. He's like, what if we don't play the Panthers? Yeah. I'm repeating that. What I will say is this, and we talked about this before we started this conversation. What the Panthers are doing right now is extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary how well they're playing. Mm-hmm. So you might say, the division's lost for, look at all these young core players. And they do. Like, Barkov's still in his prime. Yeah. They got Seth Jones locked up. The Lundell-Luostarinen duo, like they're fantastic. Verhaeghe's locked up. Like they have their guys. Reinhart, he's locked up. I mean, they are 22, 23. Lundell's on the younger side. And it's like, what are we going to do? Well, everything is fluid. Everything is fluid.
Yeah.
There is no guarantee that the Panthers at this point next year are going to be playing as well as they are right now. To me, it's less about them being physical. That is part of how they play. I'm not saying that you're incorrect.
Right.
I mean, they are a physical team. But sometimes you can be physical, but if you're not executing, you go for a hit and you get thrown out of position and you're giving up a chance the other way. They are giving up. What is impressive to me is how they are defending. Yeah. It's not that they are physical. They are physical as part of how they are defending. Yeah. But there are other teams that can defend just as well, like the Devils in the 90s with Brodeur defended really, really well. They weren't overly physical other than Scott Stevens maybe. So I think it's more about finding your identity and playing to it. And what Julian liked about this year's Lightning team is they just gave up fewer scoring chances.
Yeah.
So the last thing I'll say is this. The Panthers have set a bar very, very high throughout this playoff year, with the exception of the first 2 games against Toronto. I think they've played defensively at basically a championship level through these playoffs to this point. As we speak, they're up 3-1 on Carolina. Mm-hmm. The teams that have been able to beat them in games, other than the first 2 games against Toronto, where I think they had a couple of off games. Other than that, though, we haven't seen that. So I don't think that you can expect that we are going to see that the rest of the way, particularly now that like blood is in the water, right? Like they are close. Yeah. They want this back-to-back that the Lightning got. They want it too. So how do teams beat them? How did the Lightning beat them in Game 3? How did the Maple Leafs beat them in Game 6? How did Carolina beat them in Game 4? You have to match what they are doing defensively, which is very, very hard to do. And if you can match them defensively, then it becomes more of a coin toss. And you aren't gift wrapping chances for them, which is how they are blowing out these teams, because these teams are making egregious mistakes and the Panthers are making them pay for it. When the other team is not making egregious mistakes, we're seeing these 0-0, 1-1 games that are coming down to a play here and there. And the last thing I'll say is this. What I have seen, I think Toronto benefited. Toronto deserves credit for making the plays, but I think Toronto benefited from a Panther team that was not at this level for the first 2 games. Yeah. Okay?
Yep. I agree.
I don't think Carolina or Toronto defended as well as the Lightning did against the Panthers.
I agree.
The Lightning had a bad Game 1, and they had a bad Game 5 defensively, but the middle 3 games in that series, the Lightning basically did what I just talked about.
Yeah. No, they did.
They essentially matched what the Panthers did defensively. Game 2 was a 1-0 game before the empty netter. Mm-hmm. And game 4, I mean, the Lightning didn't see it through to the end, but they played 56 minutes plus of high-level defense, and then they had a breakdown and a bad bounce.
Yeah.
And they ended up losing that game, and they won game 3. Did Toronto string together 3 games like that defensively against Florida? I don't think so.
Maybe 2.5.
Did Carolina? Carolina had a really strong defensive game 3. It was 1-1 going into the third period. Then they gave up 1 goal and they completely crumbled, right?
Yep.
They gave up 5 goals in half a period.
It was so unbelievable.
Right. So, I mean, that one, they had 2 good periods and then they had a horrendous third. So, look, I mean, from that standpoint, like the path forward for the Lightning, we learned this last summer. The path forward for the Lightning to get back to championship level is what they are doing with their defensive play, their net. How many scoring chances are they allowing? They improved drastically
they did.
In that department this year. They ran into a juggernaut.
Yeah.
There is no guarantee that this juggernaut is going to stay a juggernaut at this level next year.
History tells us that doesn't happen.
It usually doesn't. They may still be, like, they're still going to be a terrific team, and it's going to be hard to knock them off. But I don't know that we're going to see any team play at the level the Panthers have played at through this playoff year so far. And so if you're Lightning, like, this is the last thing I'll say on this, Julian, and this is a very effective cautionary tale. I'm not as close to this situation as some other people are. Jay Richards, a big Rangers fan, so he could probably speak about this more intelligently. But remember, the Rangers won the President's Trophy the year before last. They won 2 rounds. They lost to the Panthers in 6 games. They were up 2-1 in an overtime in game 4. They could have been up 3-1 in that series. They were close.
Yeah.
They were close to beating the Panthers last year. Instead, they lose. And it wasn't only that they lost that series, but think about the major changes that were made. Like, the fans' reaction a lot of times, and this is a normal reaction, is like, we lost. Something's wrong. We need to change things up. Yeah. The fan that you talked about with the recommendations. So the Rangers in some ways did that. Like,
yeah, they did.
They moved their captain, Jacob Trouba. They moved Capo Caco. They moved Hedel. You know, they moved Ryan Lindgren, who I really like as a defenseman. I think some of the players they got in were like, JT Miller is going to help their team. Like, I like JT Miller as a player, but look what happened to their team this year.
Yeah, exactly.
They missed the playoffs. Yeah. They went from the President's Trophy to missing the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how much of that was due to the fact that management kind of reacted like something's wrong here? Yeah, or just something's wrong here and we need to make changes. And sometimes making changes is not the answer. It makes things worse.
Listen to the fans. You'll be sitting with them soon enough. That's what they say. Well, Mish,
you
awesome
can say that. I am not saying that.
Listen, man, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm looking forward to bringing you to the stage for the Hall of Fame, and you're so well deserved. You're such a part of the fabric of this this great Tampa Bay community we live in. It's well deserved, and can't wait to honor you on Wednesday night. Thanks, partner.
Thanks,
Appreciate
JP.
it.
Number 1 there.
You'd like to.
All the way up. There you go.
The great Dave Mishkin there, my colleague at Lightning Radio, just the best in the business, and going to be a great time going in next week on Wednesday. Sorry, it's all sold out, but if you want to be part of the Sports Club of Tampa Bay, go to their website, sportscluboftampabay.org, and become a member. We have great meetings once a month over at Palmacia, great networking opportunities, only $100 to get into the club, so definitely become a member and become part of the inner circle. We had Brian Ford came in last week, a couple weeks ago, and did a great presentation from the Bucs. So we get, great folks all the time to come speak to our Scott Reynolds has done it. We've had Phil Esposito come, Rondé Barber, some of the biggest names, Derek Brooks, come on over all the time and talk sports. So be part of it, sportscluboftampabay.org. All right, partner, that'll do it for today's show. Appreciate you guys jumping in. Thanks to Scott Reynolds and also Evan Closkey for joining us, and a great John Gerber who gave us his picks. We will put those out on our social media. Make sure you get down on all these picks this week. He says when Johnny usually gets hot in this part of the season, he knows this course as well, and of course he's there inside the ropes. So,
there you
go. And From the Rough coming up at 6 o'clock Eastern, right?
Correct.
All right,
right here on your channel and over on the Dallas channel.
That's right. So come watch it. Great golf show. We'll see you then, and we'll be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity.